Yeah, imagine if bro did start the stream and then just nodded off. That would be a good start to the stream. Happy Friday, everybody. Good to see you. Fuck. That's how I feel after yesterday. Sorry I missed you guys yesterday. I just I had some stuff. I've got a debate tomorrow that I hadn't prepped for yet. And quite frankly, watching that bill pass, knowing that it was going to be an emotional time, I didn't really feel like I was going to have a productive show yesterday. So I missed you guys. Hopefully some of you caught me on TikTok while I hung out on TikTok. Caught another band. Gotta apologize to Jen and my TikTok manager. I did send Jen a message today apologizing for getting banned from TikTok, and she said, "What did you do? Did you call somebody a bitch?" And she was correct. I did call somebody a bitch. I called a lot of people bitch, but I think I only got banned for one of them. It was a weird day. There's I don't if any of you guys saw it. I was on Live to Be Greats live, and you may see me there more often. I think that's a good place for discussion, and Liv does a good job facilitating that, where it doesn't just devolve into screaming. At least like 40% of the time, there's a real debate there. The other 60 is still screaming. But you may see me there a little bit more, and I'm going to try my best not to get banned on TikTok. But if you guys were there, you saw it, and I think maybe what fucked me up the most yesterday, and ultimately what partially led to deciding to just do my research and not do the show yesterday, is watching. There's different types of MAGA. There's the MAGA that they don't really know what's going on, and it was just a regular day. And there's like the MAGA, oh, we're winning. There's that MAGA, and that MAGA, like, I can deal with that. I think that's just people who are playing the game of politics. And then there were the other people. There were the folks that are celebrating that, like, it is going to hurt people. It's the folks that are celebrating that this is hurting people that really fucked me up a little bit yesterday. It's just one of those days where you don't know. I mean, we all know that those people exist, but then when it's right in front of you, it's incredibly shocking. I do let you go, and I go live at the same time every day. On TikTok, you just got to turn on notifications, though. I don't always know when I'm going to go live on TikTok. It's never planned. You can ask Jen about that. Sometimes I'll be scrolling, or sometimes somebody will just message me and be like, come check this out, or come in and see if you can debate with this person. So I never really know on TikTok. I would love to be more organized, and I think that is a fair thing to ask for. Mick piss. I don't know. Mish piss. But unfortunately, I am a very limited human being when it comes to planning. So it's fair for you to ask, and it's fair for you to expect a reasonable, normal person to have a schedule. Unfortunately, I'm just not that person. I am not very normal. I'm driven a lot by emotion, as you guys who are here every day, you know that. You know it's heavily driven by emotion, and so sometimes that's when I wind up going live. Jen, did I hear you? Are you here this morning?
I think it's so. I mean, I've learned at some point that the planning shit, like, it just doesn't happen. So
Jen heard this and needed to vent. Go ahead.
I just had to express that I'm sorry if Jay won't plan with me.
Yeah.
He sure shit's not going to do it with you guys.
That's correct.
So, yeah.
But
that's me.
Everything else is going so great. Everything else is really great. While you're here, it's a good time to. Oh, I didn't reset my gift goal. Good time to remind you guys. While all of you are getting your taxes increased, at least most of us, and some of you are losing healthcare, it's a good time to remind you that we also have a gift goal every day in order to keep this show going. So it's up in the top left corner. There is the Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. We can say whatever we want today because we're off TikTok. If you're on TikTok today during the show, if you're doing both, do me a favor, just tell people this is where we are. It's amazing to me how many times somebody says, I wish you would still do your daily show, and we're doing it. Also, a reminder, and I appreciate those of you. It's what is it, $5 or $6, Jen, to subscribe on TikTok, YouTube, or Twitch. It's about the same everywhere, right? There's different levels.
Yeah. And I mean, on YouTube, there's 3 or 4 different memberships, which I've kind of decided we probably need to pare those down.
Yeah.
Because there's too many. But yeah, I think on it's about the same everywhere.
So you can support us that way as well. $5 or $6, it goes a long way to help support the show. And as a reminder, all of you who are subscribed either on Twitch, YouTube, or TikTok, tomorrow night we do have a debate on Raging Tomatoes YouTube channel. We're gonna be talking about immigration. My contention and my challenge on the debate was that I think mass deportation does more harm than good. I'll be debating a guy named Steven. He's been a Fox News contributor. He's been on C-SPAN, MSNBC. He's a right winger. I think probably like a moderate Republican. I would consider him like a Mitt Romney Republican type. So we'll be debating there. Should be actually a good debate. I've had good conversations with him before. He was on the episode of Jubilee that I did. He's a reasonable person. He can take a joke. I think it'll be a really, really good debate. That'll be on Raging Tomatoes YouTube, or if you are a subscriber, a paid subscriber, we will have our own stream for that as well. So it'll look more like this, and then I can engage with just our chat there on our stream. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to actually mention something about that. So there's when you had the last private event, I don't know if we want to do something like you did, having it stream in Discord for Twitch, because Twitch we can't do a subscriber only thing.
Okay. Okay. So if you're a Twitch subscriber, you'll have to do it in Discord.
So yeah, but what I was going to say with that is I was trying to. There is an integration, and I'm going to put some instructions together in Discord. I'll post an announcement how to do it. You need to pair your subscription to your Discord, and I'll put instructions how to do that. But I'm not gonna go back and try to re-add each person to find out if you're a Twitch subscriber or not. You guys will have to do. You're gonna have to integrate it on your end, because I can't go do that like I did last time. It was a pain in my ass. So. All
right. Can we get rid of 99 Cape 1 ATT mods, whoever that is? It's weird. A weird thing. Thank you. Sophia said for you and Jen only. Fuck Bill, the big beautiful Bill. Thank you, Asa Sophia. Congratulations on waking up today and having health care. Congratulations on waking up today and not having to worry about your government stripping the health care from you to give a tax break to a bunch of rich people. So real neat stuff there. I don't get it. Honest to God. Hopefully we get some Republicans in here today that want to have a discussion. If you are a Republican, you can come up and talk anytime. Just add Jen on Discord. It's JENNDUBB1, same as the Venmo username, and you can be added on Discord, and we'll bring you up and discuss it. But the big thing for me is I do feel there's not an opportunity here. I don't want to call it an opportunity. I've heard some people try and pitch it that way, that this bill is so unpopular that it's a good chance for us to get out in the midterms. It's not just about the midterms. It's about the American people, and it's about what's doing best for the American people. This bill is not good for the average American, not even remotely good for the average American. It's not good for Republicans. It's not good for Democrats, and every one of those people that voted for this bill that are in a competitive district, they will all face really, really difficult primaries. And let me tell you a couple things that are going to happen and how Republicans are going to spin this. The Republicans have done a few things that they've added to the bill to make sure that the effects of this bill are not felt before the midterms. There are a couple provisions, we'll cover them, and I'll need to go more in depth to find more of them, but there's at least 10 to 12 provisions I found already that are going to expire in 2028. This is the game that they play. And this is how we got here today. Republicans in the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, what they did is they had all of these provisions sunset in 2025. And they did that because they understood what 2025 would be. 2025 would be the president coming in after an election. And if it's a Republican president who had won in 2024, which it just so happened to be, then that Republican president could use leverage and say, hey, Americans, you don't want your taxes to go up. I'm going to extend your tax cuts. And you've heard that from Republicans across the board. We had to do this. This was the biggest bill, the biggest tax cut for the middle class. We're giving the middle class a tax cut. We're taking care of the middle class. I just want you to remember that under this tax bill, the middle class has been shrinking. This tax bill has been in place since 2017, and the middle class has not gotten better. It has gotten worse. It has been more difficult as a middle class American under this tax bill. And so their solution to that was to keep your taxes the same and give an even bigger cut to rich people. And that first cut is what is hurting you today. Make no bones about it. And it's not because rich people get to keep more of their money. It's because of what they do with their money and their ability to spend that money. When you get to the upper echelons, when you have $10 million in revenue or income, you don't spend all that. You don't reinvest that into the economy. And I think sometimes we have a skewed understanding of what the economy is and what it means to inject money into the economy. It is meant to circulate. So a long-term investment doesn't really help the economy. It helps you. It helps your personal wealth. And it may pay for, you know, an investment advisor at the time, and it may help a company grow. But mostly what it does is it accelerates wealth. Tesla is the perfect example of this. When rich people got extra money, a lot of them invested in Tesla. Now, is Tesla a extremely profitable company? No, it is not. Is it anywhere near as profitable as Ford or GM? Absolutely not. Not even fucking close. But the stock price is like, what is it at? What's Tesla stock as? Is it still at four something? Let's call it 420. That's where they went public at. GM and Ford are it's 10x worth what Ford and GM are worth, despite the fact that the profits don't match up with it. And what that means for you, the American investor, is that money that has been invested in Tesla has only gone to drive up the stock price. That's it. That's the only thing it's done. It has not added more money to our economy. It has not paid for better jobs. It has not done anything but potentially increase the net worth of somebody who's invested in Tesla. When 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, those people, if they have Tesla stock, it's likely that they have sold their Tesla stock. This is a completely fraudulent system. It is a completely rigged system. It is a completely broken system. In fact, I am not going to talk about the stock market anymore, because why the fuck do I care about the stock market? I care about the stock market about as much as I care about when I go to Vegas and I see, oh, the mega jackpot is this. It is not indicative of a healthy economy. In fact, it is quite clearly not linked to our economy hardly at all. When we have had president after president after president preside over record high stock prices. We had record high stock prices yesterday after a plummeting jobs bill, after negative GDP growth. Somebody's going to have to explain to me why I should care about the stock market. I look at the numbers. How much can Americans afford after they've paid their bills? Almost nothing. How much is healthcare affordable? No, it's not. I'm self-employed. And I'm self-employed and I make just enough money that I can't get any sort of subsidized healthcare. And then I look at my healthcare and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to get healthcare, if I'm going to get a family plan, I can't afford it. I'm going to have to cut out a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to have to cut out the things that I definitely need just to get healthcare, just on the off chance that me or my daughter gets really, really sick. And then it might kick in after a $15,000 deductible, which I also don't have, which most Americans don't have. We are being robbed absolutely fucking blind. It is so fucking crazy to me to see Americans today celebrating this bill when America, by every measure, is getting passed by virtually every one of our competitors. There's a clip. I'll show you this. It's not on the outline, but I just saw it like 5 minutes ago. I think this is a good example here. China is technologically miles past us, and the reason that China is doing so much better is because China does that evil thing, that evil socialism thing. China uses taxpayer money to invest in industry, and then that taxpayer money creates a return because they don't invest in it and saying like, we're going to spend, here's a good example, like the Chips and Science Act. We spent a lot of money and gave a lot of subsidies for the Chips and Science Act. And what that allows businesses to do is come in with a government subsidy and create a business and they can offset a bunch of their costs because of government subsidies, and then they get to make all the profits. And our country says, well, the great news is we'll be able to collect taxes on those businesses. It'll create jobs. Those people will also pay taxes, and we're good. Except for we're cutting the taxes of the richest people. China does it differently. China says we're going to take that taxpayer money, and we're going to. And one of the places that they really focused on was electric vehicles, and so they took taxpayer money and they invested it into electric vehicle manufacturing and renewable energy. And what happens when BYD, a Chinese auto manufacturer, does well? It increases not only tax revenue for what people are taxed, but it increases revenue for the government, which they can then go use, and they can pay for healthcare. They can pay for education. Now, if you think that that sounds crazy, I want you to remember that we do that here in the United States too, but we do it in the dumbest fucking possible ways. If you want, the only places where we allow things where you can invest in that go right back in the private sector, that go back into the taxpayers' pockets are things like the lottery and medical marijuana. And what happens is states, in order to get those things passed, in order to have a lottery, in order to have medical marijuana, they say we're going to add a tax onto this, and that money is going to go to pay for schools or roads, depending on what state you're in, usually schools. And that's how some of these places like Arizona have made up budget deficits through marijuana revenue. Utah did it. I think Florida's doing it. I think Florida does that. California did that. We do it too, but we just do it with like shit that people like want to use. like marijuana. We don't do it in a sensible way. This is the CEO of Ford. And I want you to hear the CEO of Ford talking about the difference between cars manufactured here in America and cars manufactured in China. And there is really only one difference. We're all going after the same market. We're all going after people who want cars. And China is investing. South Korea does this too. They invest in the companies and they share in the profits. And listen to Ford with all this money, all this private investment money, this VC money that's available, all this investment that's about to be freed up by the big beautiful bill. Look what Ford says about how badly they're getting dusted by China.
It's the most humbling thing I've ever seen. 70% of all EVs in the world are made in China. They have far superior in-vehicle technology. Huawei and Xiaomi are in every car. They have facial recognition.
Cell phone technology.
Yes.
Connected to their cell phones.
Yes. You get in, you don't have to pair your phone. Automatically, your whole digital life is mirrored in the car. You have an AI companion that you can talk to ChatGPT equivalent in China. All the automatic payment is already there. You can buy movie tickets. It has facial recognition, so it knows who's in which seat and which media you like.
Why don't Ford cars have that? Would you need to deal with Apple or?
Yeah, because Google and Apple decided not to go in the car business. And even beyond that, their cost, their quality of their vehicles is far superior.
Now, here's the difference. When he says like, how say Huawei, I think is how you say that. Here's the difference is that all of those technology companies in China, they have government subsidies. And those government subsidies require them also to work with other Chinese companies and integrate their technology. In America, because we have that separation, we still give Apple, we still give Google all of these tax subsidies, all these tax breaks that they give in China, but then we're not attached to it. And so they don't integrate their systems like China does. If you see these BYD cars, they are light years ahead of where we are. They are light years ahead of Tesla, who makes our best electric vehicles. In places like in Mexico, where BYD is available, nobody buys Tesla. Everybody buys BYD. It's a better product. Oh, and by the way, if you live in China, your electric costs are less because of renewable energy, and you're not paying for gas. Imagine that. Just if you live in a warm state, because I don't know what your guys' bills are like in other states, but for example, in Arizona, if I was able to I generate enough solar power to power my house, but I have to be attached to the grid, and I can't use solar power. So in Arizona, from I want to say it's like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., I can use solar. The hottest time of the day, I can use solar, but I can't disconnect from the grid and put in a battery and store that power and power my house for 24 hours. The times when the sun isn't up, I have to pay SRP for power. Why? Because our government's like, oh, well, we can't leave SRP hanging. That's what crony capitalism is. Crony capitalism is keeping established businesses, established sources of revenue afloat by forcing customers to stay on. You don't get a choice in Arizona. I have no choice. I have to pay SRP. There's other places. There's APS. There's two different power companies here. And now, on top of that, in the big beautiful bill, we're cutting the subsidies for you to be able to get solar on your house. So for a lot of people, they didn't have $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 where they could go and they could buy solar for their house. So the government subsidized these companies and gave them a tax credit, and then you could get financing for solar, and then you got a tax break. Like I don't remember what it was, but I got some sort of rebate. I think it was like $7,500 or something like that. A check. I actually got a check to offset that. So it incentivized me to put solar on my house. It took away the stress on the grid, and there was just this little tie-in there. Like, don't worry, we're going to reduce the stress on your grid, and we're going to force them to pay for power. This idea that like free market capitalism in America and the way that we do things gives people more freedom is absolutely fucking bullshit. Yet, sure, sometimes you might have more choices, but it's leading to less choices. I don't have the option of having a renewable energy home. I don't have the option of having having no bill for gas. Most of us don't, and now they're going to set it back even further. They're going to take these auto manufacturers and they're going to be like, we're not going to give you any money to invest in renewable energy or electric vehicles. You're going to have to find that money on your own. But we will subsidize you if you're doing SUVs, which is exactly what we did, so that we can ship those over. It's silly, but China's beating our ass for one reason and one reason only. They work as a collective. They take the revenue from taxes and they share that with everybody, and everybody benefits. And in America, we now know who benefits. It's the rich.
To what I see in the West, we are in a global competition with China.
China can't collect taxes from their own citizens. They lose billions from tax dodgers. So do we. It is amazing. The microphone or the magnifying glass you'll put on China. Everything you guys say, everything you hate about China, we do. And everything you claim to hate about China is usually better than what we have. We do that too. And guess what we did to fix that? We cut the IRS. We cut funding for the IRS. Did you know that? And we stopped prosecuting people. We stopped prosecuting corporations who were dodging taxes. So the thing that you're complaining about China that we have too, our response to that is, fuck it, let them do it. And China's trying. They're trying to collect some of that money. But everybody has that problem. Every country on earth has a problem with tax dodgers. It is remarkable the amount of mediocrity you guys are willing to live in just so that you don't have to admit that some things need to change. And that's the real poison pill of conservatism, is convincing a bunch of dipshits that the way things are the best, and there's no way that it could be any better. So we should not improve on it at all. We should just keep doing the same fucking shit that got us here. And that's what the big beautiful bill is. Let me just show you the debt by year. Pull this up. I've shown you guys this before, but if you look at 2017, I have to have an ad on everything. This is we were 20 trillion in debt, or no, excuse me. This is the deficit. We had a $20 billion deficit in 2017 when we raised or when we put in the TCJA, and then every year after that, it massively explodes. For sure, we have a bigger increase here for COVID and a bigger increase here for COVID, but every year our debt is increasing. Every single year our debt is increasing, and before 1982. Here's 82. It wasn't increasing at the same rate. 300 billion. Immediately 1982, we just see a massive increase, and then wealth inequality skyrockets. And we've done nothing to address this. Right here in 1982, when we had the Reagan tax cut, and that's when it went into effect as 82 while we increased spending. Right here, we were in a manageable situation. And Republicans sounded then the same way that they sound now. Is they're like, look, we've got runaway spending. Look at it. It's going up every year. We have to do something about this. And they did nothing about it, but they did cut taxes for rich people. That's it. Every fucking time. Every fucking time we try and address spending, Republicans rant and rave. For 4 years, we had to hear about it with Joe Biden. For 4 years. And I agreed with you guys. I agreed that Joe Biden needed to do something about spending. And then your dude gets in here and he just cuts revenues and increases spending.
And it's not just east.
For the life of me, can't understand it. But okay, maybe you guys will explain it to me. Just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. We have PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App, as well as Super Chats. I'll be happy to read anything that you send. And let's see if we can knock out that gift goal here by the end. I also have Jen and I came up with some pretty cool ideas for some merchandise that I think you guys are going to like. It's going to be relatively personalized to where you live. It'll probably take all weekend to get that out, but on Monday or Tuesday we should have some new merch, and I think you're going to like it. The cell phone industry isn't as good as ours. What do you mean their cell phone industry isn't as good as ours? We're talking about like who makes the phone? I don't know about that. Those Huawei phones, a lot of people were starting to buy those Huawei phones, and then Biden banned them because they said it was a backdoor to the CCP. They scared you with the CCP. But what that really was is iPhone was a little nervous that Huawei phones were better. This is back in the day when I would listen to Joe Rogan before he was all political. And he talked about the Huawei phone. He loved it. He's like, it's so much better than any phone I've ever had. And by the way, that's a good point. Like they also make all of our cell phones. So not only do they have iPhones over there, not only do they have Samsungs over there, they usually get their technology earlier than us, so their phones are more advanced than us. And then they sell us a product that they've had for 3 or 4 years over there. Kim says, our First Amendment is cooked in every way after the speaker's speech. One nation under the foot of God. And thank you, Asta Sophia. I think I read that one already. Let's do this. Cool. All right, let's jump into the show. Here is Curtis Sliwa. I don't know much about Curtis Sliwa other than he ran for mayor in New York City. He's giving some good advice, but Fox News is all in on Mamdani. So Fox News isn't going to address any of this dog shit bill. They're just going to keep criticizing everybody on the left and hope that you guys don't figure it the fuck out. And most of you won't figure it the fuck out. You'll just keep following along. But while this massive gift to billionaires and kick in the face to the middle class and the poor in this country, Fox News doesn't want to cover that, so they're going to expose Mamdani. And here's now what they're saying. Now even Republicans are warning, hey, maybe don't do the Muslim stuff. Maybe don't do the anti-Muslim stuff.
But this broke just before the show. According to the New York Times, he identified on his college application as Asian and African American. He doesn't consider himself black, but said the application didn't allow for the complexity of his background.
Isn't this the same shit you guys always do? We hate identity politics, and then you play identity politics. You did this. They did this with Obama. They did this with Elizabeth Warren. They did this with Kamala Harris. They always do this. It's always identity politics from the people that are the loudest about how much they hate identity politics. By the way, I am wearing a Kamala hoodie. I didn't think I would ever wear this hoodie ever again. And if Kamala were running for the DNC right now, I would not vote for Kamala. I just am wearing this hoodie today to remind everybody this wouldn't have happened. None of this would have happened under Kamala Harris. None of it. In fact, the middle class, your tax break probably would have stayed the same. And there would have been a slight increase in the amount of money that rich people had to pay. Slight, very slight. And that's what you guys were so afraid of. That's why we couldn't have Kamala Harris, because Trump needed to come in and we really need to give these billionaires more tax cuts.
What do you make of that, Curtis?
Well, I do know he is a practicing Muslim, and I've advised our colleagues, of which there are many on our side of this issue, because we know Zoran will destroy this city. Do not attack his religion. Leave the religion alone. If you don't want to see him elected, there are 1 million Muslims in New York City who can vote. Many of them with conservative values, many of them who voted for Donald Trump for president. So
but he's made that background the center of his campaign.
Right. You can criticize him as being a communist, socialist, anti-Semite, Czech. Leave the religion alone. Now, he would consider.
But he's only an anti-Semite, though, because he supports Palestine. You guys are struggling to figure this out. He's just saying, say all the stuff, like say all the I'm afraid of Muslim stuff, just don't say Muslim.
Himself Southeast Asian, although he's of Indian heritage, his mother and father. He grew up in Uganda. So I guess you could sort of put it in the blender. I don't have a problem with it.
We're going to play identity politics on Fox News. That's what we're doing today. We're just going to go play identity politics nonstop. Here is a pretty ironic story. This broke yesterday when I was on Twitter. Julio César Chávez, fresh off a loss to, I think this is the one that lost to Jake Paul, right? Who just lost? Yeah, this is the guy who just lost to Jake Paul, who has been like very pro-Trump. I have this sneaking suspicion that Chavez Jr. is there's going to be some sort of we're going to have some American diplomats try and intervene here. This is an interesting one. So Cesar Chavez Jr. is being arrested by ICE because he has an outstanding warrant in Mexico due to his connection with the Sinaloa cartel. His connection with the Sinaloa cartel is that he is dating the daughter of one of the cartel leaders. Ironically, the same cartel leaders that Trump just welcomed into our country. This is a very pro-MAGA, Sinaloa cartel connected person. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But the irony of somebody talking about how great Donald Trump is, then being detained by ICE, is after losing to Jake Paul in boxing, is not lost on me.
You do want me to search you? I have the gloves on if you want me to. ¿No tienes algo sus zapatos?
No.
¿Pocillos?
Nada.
¿No tienes nada?
Mi celular aquí en la bolsa de atrás.
Aquí has it.
And there.
No tienes nada contigo, ¿no? No. Yes, pockets in there.
I will take note to the MAGA idiots in here that are just trying to like trigger everybody today. I will take note that you have nothing to say about the big beautiful bill. You only have insults to hurl at me, and that's fine. Like I'm a dude on the internet. I'm used to that shit. What I will point out, and what all of our chat will recognize, is that you literally have nothing to say. You have nothing to add to this conversation. You are trolls. You and you just follow Donald Trump. You are the bitches. You are the cucks. You are and you are the people who stand in the way of your own success. So I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for the engagement. But I just want to point out over and over and over again that the same people sit in the comments every day and say shit like, this is why Trump won. And not one of you is effective enough to have an argument and come up here and discuss it. I would love for you, any of you are always welcome to come up and explain to me how this bill is good for America. We need to do Friendly Friday today. Okay, Jen, we'll do that. Reminder, this is Friendly Friday, and I know that there's a lot of people that want to speak their mind today. We'll do Friendly Friday, and I'm comfortable with it going a little bit late today too. We'll do that. Let's just see if we can knock out that goal before Friendly Friday, but the last hour of the show, we'll do Friendly Friday. All right. Here's Trump just saying what everybody here agrees with. All these MAGA folks here agree with. There is nothing that these folks stand for. Ironically, the unifying thing that all of you have is hatred, and it's hatred for us. It's hatred for people who think differently than you. And I don't think that it's hatred because you're actually afraid of what we do. I don't think it's hatred because you don't like what we stand for, because you have no fucking clue what we stand for. What you hate is that we oppose you. What we hate is that we criticize this dipshit. Your entire platform legitimately is hatred. That's why you're here today. That's why you are being trolls today. That's why you're saying, see, told you so. That's why you're celebrating instead of engaging in a conversation. And it's because you're led by a motherfucking dipshit like Donald Trump, who is just hate-filled. And he goes on the day the big beautiful bill passes on the 4th of July, he decides to go out, not to unify, not to say, hey, Democrats, I know you guys might not like this bill, but we're going to work together. Instead, he goes out on a hate tour.
I want to thank Republican congressmen and women, because what they did is incredible last night. And the Senate, the Republican Senate, we got, not with all of the things we did with the tax cuts and rebuilding our military, not one Democrat voted for us. And I think we use it in the campaign that's coming up, the midterms, because we got
If you're a good leader, shouldn't you be able to get people to vote with you? Joe Biden passed lots of bipartisan legislation. This man has never passed a single piece of bipartisan legislation. That's not a good leader. Whatever you want to say, I understand that you guys like him. That is a bad leader. If you can't get people who disagree with you to find some common ground, you are a bad leader. But because, again, you worship this man, you can't admit that. So what you have to do instead is just always call everybody else bad. Everybody else is bad, just not him. The reason nobody voted for this bill, and the reason that you guys had to beg Republicans to vote for this bill, the reason that you couldn't pass the bill the first time is because even Republicans know this. And I'm going to show you clip after clip after clip of Republicans explaining what's wrong with this bill. And ultimately what got them to vote for this bill is Donald Trump threatening them. This is not a good leader. It's just it's a schoolyard bully.
Got to beat him. But all of the things that we've given, and they wouldn't vote only because they hate Trump. But I hate them too, you know that? So it's
not one single person said I'm not voting for this because I hate Trump. We had hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of debate about real data, about real provisions in this bill. I didn't hear one person say I'm not voting for this because I hate Trump. Not one. Here's the Republican way of life is create a straw man about what the Democrats do, and then do exactly what you just accused them of doing so that you don't look like a hypocrite. Nobody voted against this bill because they hate Trump. They voted against this bill because it hurts working class people. And it absolutely will hurt working class people. And ironically, you guys will do the same thing that you did in 2017, and I wish you would learn from your mistakes. What you will see is you will celebrate the stock market. You will next year when revenues come in, you will say, "Oh, look, revenue went up. Where's all the fear mongering now?" Nobody, zero. I just want this on the record. Clip this. There wasn't a single Republican who said that revenues next year, or Democrat that said revenues next year will be lower than this year. And Trump will get up there, and you guys will get up there, and Democrats all over Fox News, or Republicans all over Fox News will hop on their mic and they'll see, "Look at all these Democrats. They were fear-mongering that revenues would go down and they went up." Nobody has said that. They will celebrate. They will create straw mans to celebrate victory. When you guys say, like, "Are we tired of winning yet?" You don't ever win. You're not. These aren't real fights. These are straw man arguments that you create yourself, and then when it doesn't happen, you're like, "Look, we won." Revenues next year will go up. You know what else will go up? Wealth inequality. You know what else will go up? The amount of people who are uninsured. You know what else will go up? Preventable deaths. And none of you will talk about that. You'll talk about the stock market, and you'll talk about how revenues went up. And not a single one of us predicted that the stock market would crash or that revenues wouldn't go up. Revenues always go up. The stock market always goes up. The problem that we're going to have here is that rural hospitals will shut down, health insurance will get more expensive, life in America will become more unaffordable, and the rich will get richer. I promise you, if I'm wrong, explain to me from 2017 until now. Where's my Republicans? From 2017 until now, did the middle class get better? No, it didn't get better. All of you, you can't say that it did because you sat there during this last election cycle and you're like, Joe Biden destroyed the middle class. Under Trump's tax policy, somehow. He destroyed the middle class with Trump's tax policy. So how is extending the same policy that isn't working, and that's what he did for the middle class, he just kept you guys on the same tax policy that isn't working, and then cut taxes for rich people. Explain to me how I'm supposed to think that's going to work. The only way that you would think that's going to work is if you just never look at data. Ever, ever, ever. The 27 and look at you guys in here too. "Oh, this guy's an idiot." Pull up some fucking facts. Jen Dub right here, top left corner. Top left corner. There's a username. You can add Jen on Discord. Come with some facts, please. Otherwise, you're exposed as the same dipshits you've always been. Followers. You're just simply followers. You just repeat what you're told and you run with it. Here's Congressman Andy Ogles, who never misses an opportunity to suck Donald Trump's dick. There is no measure by which Donald Trump is a remarkable president. He is not there. I know that there's like the poll of historians of like who's the worst president. I don't put a lot of stock into that. I don't care. If we're just looking by the numbers, He's like an average or below average president. He's been nowhere near the best economy in the history of our country. None of these claims that he makes about how great he is are true. But now we have Secretary Burgum receiving a letter from Andy Ogles saying, "We urge your consideration of a proposal that reflects the enduring legacy of a consequential American president, given the scale and scope of recent achievements under Donald Trump, including the enactment of the historic Big Beautiful Bill to secure our border, rebuild our military, and slash government bloat to reinvigorate our it's hard to say that without laughing. It's appropriate to explore the addition of his likeness to Mount Rushmore." That's what we did. We gave a tax cut to billionaires, and already Andy Ogles is out there like, put him on Mount Rushmore. This is gonna make everything better. While you're doing that, on the same day, I want to remind you that Donald Trump pardoned January 6th criminals, including this man.
Year-old man from Maryville is set to spend the rest of his life in prison. His crime? Plotting to kill FBI agents.
A judge handed down that sentence today for Edward Kelly, who first made headlines for storming the Capitol on January 6th. 10 News anchor Brittany Bailey has been following this case and spoke with Edward Kelly several times leading up to today in court. Brittany?
Well, John and Robin, we also did hear from Edward Kelly today in court, but he wanted to focus more on the past rather than today's sentence. He urged the judge to reconsider his earlier ruling that this FBI kill list case would not be covered by the president's pardon. Now, what Kelly did not do was address any of the victims from his list who were in court today or express any remorse. And that was a theme we heard from prosecutors throughout this case. They say Edward Kelly felt he was acting as a patriot in preparing for civil war. So he targeted the law enforcement officers who were investigating him for his actions on January 6th. He created a kill list of more than 30 names, making plans to murder them at work, their homes, and public places. He made plans to attack the FBI Knoxville field office with IEDs, conducted training exercises with his co-conspirators, and made sure he had access to an arsenal of weapons. And during their investigation, they also found child pornography on his computer.
Oh, what? Wait, he must be trans, right? That must be it. Not another Christian nationalist white dude.
Throughout all of this, prosecutors have maintained that Kelly has shown no remorse, as we said, and they cited some of the conversations he had with me from jail. And today in court, Kelly also referenced our conversations, saying he was talking about January 6th, not this case, when he defended his actions. And he also told me prior to today, he does plan to appeal, and he asked to be released from jail pending that appeal, but a judge denied that request today.
And Brittany, explain the range of people you saw in that federal courtroom today for the sentencing.
Well, John, 13 of the people who were on that kill list were in court today. 3 of them gave victim impact statements. 2 had them read on their behalf. They all described living in fear after learning they were on that list, some buying expensive security systems, others moving out of their homes, but all say this has forever changed their lives. John and Robin.
All right.
We support the police. We support law enforcement. Just another Republican pedophile. How many more Republican pedophiles do we need before you guys realize you're not the party that protects children? If we just Google man charged with abusing children, we just go to images. None of that doesn't look like a ton of immigrants, does it? There we go. Asheville man, not an immigrant. Oh, American citizens. We have We have an abusing children problem here in America. And it's mostly men, isn't it? It's almost exclusively men. If we get rid of man. We have a real problem with abusing children in this country, and we're blaming it all on immigrants. We don't address real concerns in America. I think that's my main problem. We scapegoat things in America. We have a problem with fentanyl. Do we address the fact that we have a fentanyl crisis because people in America are drug addicts because of our pharmaceutical companies and because they work hand in hand with the insurance companies to get people hooked on drugs so that they can continue their profits? No, we don't address that. We don't collectively bargain. We don't remove the profit motive. We don't do any of that. We just blame immigrants every single time. Trump's picked to lead the special counsel's office, which, by the way, the special counsel's office, their job is to make sure that if somebody's going to be a whistleblower, if somebody's going to rat out corruption in the United States, they're supposed to be protected. Look who Trump is choosing to protect whistleblowers now.
Racist rhetoric, conspiratorial rants, and
run, Forrest, run. There is no both sides right now. You guys have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So anything that is being passed right now, I cover politics. Any laws that are being passed right now are being passed by Republicans. I live in Arizona, where our legislature is mostly Republican. If you have stories you want to show me of Democrats doing things that are wrong, feel free. Let me know in the chat. Be specific. I'll cover them. I'll give you my honest opinion about them. I'll tell you. But it is interesting that you guys ask me to do this. You always ask me to do both sides. But when I show your side, you all just say that I'm lying. So what's the point?
ties to a Holocaust denier. That is just some of what a new investigation from CNN's K-File has uncovered about the person President Trump has picked to protect.
Where does the fentanyl come from? It comes through our borders. 90% of the fentanyl is smuggled across our borders by American citizens. Why doesn't Canada have the same problem? Why doesn't the UK have the same problem? Why doesn't Denmark, Sweden have the same problem? Why doesn't Mexico have the same problem? Because they have universal health care where they collectively bargain as a group and they fight actively as a group against the pharmaceutical companies to not get people addicted to drugs. It's an American problem. It's a capitalism problem. You allow these pharmaceutical companies to just get in bed with the insurance companies and they get you hooked on drugs, and then they tie that to employment. And once you're hooked on drugs, you lose your employment, so you lose your insurance, so you lose access to any sort of treatment, you lose access to safe drugs, so you turn to the streets where you can buy drugs for cash, and it creates a secondary black market where people die. Other countries don't have that because there's no need for a secondary black market. Their drug problems are much, much smaller. They treat people when they, rather than demonize people when they're addicted. They don't tie their health insurance to their employment. They don't allow pharmaceutical companies to run ads. They don't have pharmaceutical CEOs who are making $100 million a year. They don't have pharmaceutical companies who are lobbying their government. They collectively bargain. They are for their people. They stand up for their people. And in our country, especially when Republicans are in charge, we don't do anything for the people. We do everything for corporations. That's the difference. Give me a better explanation for why we have this problem and basically every other country doesn't. Well, it's just because they hate America, so they're targeting us, which is exactly what somebody would tell a dumb person if they don't want that dumb person to realize what the real fucking problem is here. To be, for the record, for anybody who says, like, I don't give a fuck about Republicans or Democrats. I don't give a fuck about capitalism or socialism. I don't even have an ideology. I just want to do the right thing based on the facts. And if we can't get out of like this, if we can't get out of this bootlicking for billionaires shit, then we're never going to get the right answers. We're never going to successfully recover. All the places where our country is weak, we weakened ourselves more with this bill. In every single aspect, we have weakened ourselves more with this bill. If we, like, even the money that we're putting towards Border Patrol to stop the flow of fentanyl, it will find a way. Every time we invest, it finds a way. Why? Because when there's people that want the drug, it just comes here. We remember back in like the 80s when we had all like the cocaine runners that were coming up from Colombia. And then we sicked the military on them, and we started taking out their boats, and we started taking out their planes. What happened? Did that stop the flow of drugs? Nope. We just figured out new ways to get through. They just figure out a way to get Americans to do it. And it's crazy. Like, let's just follow this line of logic. What do? Let's say Republicans invest, what was it, like $150 billion into the border. Let's say that now we build this border wall. We've got drones. We've got guards stationed there, and we still have a drug problem. Then what do? Then we shut down the border completely, right? Then nobody's allowed to come in or out. And American citizens can't go to Mexico. People in Mexico can't come to America. We just close the country off. And now we live in a police state where we can't travel freely. Why? Because we won't do the most effective thing, the thing that we know actually works for controlling drugs. And that is removing the profit incentive, removing the need. Nobody wants fentanyl. Nobody wants street drugs. They would love to go to their pharmacy and get the drugs that they need. But that requires doctors that are honest. That requires doctors that don't get kickbacks from pharmaceutical companies. That requires pharmaceutical companies who aren't paying to create studies that lie about their drugs. That requires pharmaceutical companies to not advertise to try and sell you on particular drugs. That requires pharmaceutical companies not to hide information. That requires insurance companies not to get in bed and take kickbacks from pharmaceutical companies, or at the very least recognize that as pharmaceutical prices go up, so do their profits. All we really have to do is take the corruption out of the system. But this American First movement and this Republican movement is a movement that says Americans are not the problem. Specifically, and let's be honest about this, specifically white Americans are not the problem. So we can't even do something that would address the problems without Americans, specifically white conservative Americans, going like, you're demonizing us. No, we're just calling balls and strikes. Like, let's just get a better program. You guys you're marching us towards a police state. ICE was created after 9/11 to track down terrorists. They are not tracking down terrorists. They are arresting people in the streets that are not terrorists. They've arrested American citizens. People are dying in custody. They're literally in masks, kidnapping people, sometimes American citizens. Most of the time people who have no criminal charges. Those people are disappearing. Those people are dying. And all because we can't just do the most effective thing. It seems to me that you guys always choose to hand more power to the government. Do you understand what this is with ICE at all? ICE is an enforcement mechanism now. And you don't have to know who they are. They don't have to identify themselves. They're in bed with Palantir, so they're tracking your phone. Who's next? We already know who's next. Already, Republicans are inserting bills now that say if you are a naturalized citizen, you can have your citizenship revoked for supporting terrorists. That means when I say free Palestine, let's just say that I was born in Canada and I moved here when I was 5 years old and I was naturalized. That means if I say free Palestine, I already know Marco Rubio thinks that is supporting terrorism. So I could lose my citizenship just for having a different opinion than the government. And I know that you guys agree with the government now, but what happens when you disagree with the government? What happens when you start saying things like tax the billionaires? Let's just say you're somehow convinced by the math, which if you're not convinced now, I don't know when, and you start saying tax the billionaires, and then they go, the billionaires are members of this country. They provide all the jobs. That is an attack on America. You are a terrorist. Get out. They can track. They are tracking every word that you say. They can track your movements. They can force you to open your phone with a Face ID. You can come into America. They can check your phone. And if you have stuff, we've already seen people are being turned away from this country when they pull up their phone. One guy was turned away for having a picture, like a funny picture of J.D. Vance, mocking J.D. Vance, and they sent him back. I don't remember what country he's from. Somewhere in the EU. I don't remember exactly where he was from. The problem that I have is that you guys get scared into things and then you develop a police state. This is the most heavy-handed the government has ever been, and you're just handing it off to them. Like, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Watch our every move. You have all the control. It's fine. I'm so scared of immigrants that I'm going to hand over this control. Republicans, when we formed ICE, stood in front of Congress and made the claim that we had to watch ICE, Sweden, thank you. We had to watch ICE very carefully, and that we should not allow ICE to become a program that did anything but track down terrorists. And here we are, in a full-on police state. And you're acting like what's wild is like it's so un-American. Whether you like the protests against Donald Trump or not, and I know you guys don't because you disagree, but shutting them down forcefully is so un-American. It is so incredibly un-American to shut down speech. To take that guy from the UK, Bob Villain, and tell him he can't come here and tour in the United States because of his criticisms of Israel. I don't recognize. I think the problem for a lot of us is we don't recognize this country, and you don't either. You also know you don't. But what you seem to be on board with is a government forcing your ideologies and your way of life on everybody with the threat of violence, with the threat of deportation, with the threat of being jailed, with the threat of your kids' schools being cut, funding from your kids' schools. It is remarkable how quickly you guys went from patriot-loving, freedom-loving Americans to bring on the surveillance state, bring on big government. This is the biggest government spending bill in the history of our country. It expands access for the police state like no other bill ever has. The Patriot Act is like, God damn, I wish I was that big. It wasn't that long ago that all of us agreed the Patriot Act was wrong, and now here we are creating a new Patriot Act that is far stronger than the previous one. It is far more intrusive than the previous one. And they sell it to you by telling you, like, oh, this is about immigration. Just answer the question. When has the government ever taken power and then relinquished that power? When has the government ever taken power and not expanded that power? They will expand that power against you. And by the way, when Democrats get back in office, and I know there's a lot of people who say Republicans may never leave office. Maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't think anybody, right or left, disagrees that if Donald Trump has a path forward to rig elections and to stay in power forever, as long as he lives, he'll do it. I don't think anybody honestly believes he wouldn't do that. And there's some stuff that they're doing right now that is getting close to, uh-oh. But let's just say that doesn't happen. You don't think that if Joe Biden was back in office, that he wouldn't use this same authority to shut down your bullshit? I don't want it for you. I don't want it for me. I don't want when you get online and you talk about your 9/11 conspiracies, or when you get online and you do your anti-Semitism, or you get online and you do your racism. I don't think that the government gets to come and lock you up for that. I think that you are free to be a fucking asshole. And you are free to say things as long as they are not harassment or qualify under the law as a crime. But you're opening up a very, very, very broad door of saying if you say free Palestine, you can be jailed. If you say free Palestine, you can have your citizenship revoked. You can have your standing revoked. You are opening up a can of worms that we can never close because we never fucking close it. And that's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. That is a human thing. People in power want to remain in power. That's why we never pass term limits, because people want to stay in power. That's why we can't pass anything that says these politicians can't trade stocks, because they want to remain in power. They will not give this back. This won't go backwards. What the fuck do you think ICE is going to do? They're going to hire all these people. They're going to go deport immigrants. Then what? Then what? Then what are we going to do with all of those ICE agents? Someone like a Stephen Miller type is going to find another loophole and be like, hey, now we can go after naturalized citizens. Hey, you remember the people, what's his name? Ed Snowden. How Ed Snowden had to go on the run because despite being an American citizen, they didn't want to treat him like an American citizen. They wanted to treat him like a terrorist. They wanted to suspend his due process. They wanted to suspend his rights because they determined that because he was supporting a terrorist group, he was no longer an American citizen. What happens when a white nationalist, let's say it's Nick Fuente, I'll use my mom as an example. Charlie Kirk is a white nationalist. My mom sees the Charlie Kirk stuff that he posts about on religion, and she'll like it on Instagram. What happens when somebody on our side, I don't know who would do this, but pick somebody on our side that would go jail people, whoever it might be, sees my mom liking Charlie Kirk stuff. Is that enough to investigate her? Because we believe white nationalism is an enemy to our country? Should we be following everything she does? Should we have a record of everything my mom likes? Because that's what we have now. We have everything I do on the internet is stored. Every bit of data I produce on the internet is stored, and it can be used against me at any moment, and apparently by men in masks who do not have to identify themselves. Take who they're going after, remove that. Just remove it and ask yourself, will our government stop? Does our government cede power? No, they do not cede power. Ever. And they always want, like, the people who see this, the authoritarians who see this, this is an incentive for them to get into government because they see how quickly somebody can get into power. Good people don't want to get into government right now. There's not good people running for government right now. It's a bunch of wannabe like social media influencers running the government right now, and they never want to lose that power. They love it. They're power hungry. I don't think you guys recognize what you're doing. Here's another example. Sorry, I stopped this video, but here's another example of the Trump administration taking a part of the government where we're supposed to protect whistleblowers so that if our government is turning against us, if they're doing illegal things, whistleblowers can come out, they can tell on those people in the government, so we, the people, know, and those whistleblowers are protected. So here's who Trump's now putting in charge of protecting those whistleblowers.
Tonight, racist rhetoric, conspiratorial rants, and ties to a Holocaust denier. That is just some of what a new investigation from CNN's K-File has uncovered about the person President Trump has picked to protect whistleblowers and root out government corruption. That person is 30-year-old.
They're trying to be influenced. They all have podcasts. They're all posting AI images of them looking like patriots in like war shit. They're all fucking influencers. That's why they're trying to be influencers.
Paul Ingrassia, a Trump loyalist who's been nominated to lead the Office of Special Counsel. And according to K-File, Ingrassia has a long documented history of inflammatory rhetoric, including claiming that, quote, straight white men are the most intelligent demographic group and should be prioritized in education. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski is out front. Andrew, first, tell us what you found.
Well, Brianna, Ingrassia is just 30 years old. He was just admitted to the bar last summer, and his only government experience is 6 months in this administration as department liaison and an internship during Trump's first term. Now Trump wants him to lead this Office of the Special Counsel, which is really a role that is designed to operate independently from the White House and protect whistleblowers inside the government. And what we found was, while he doesn't really have very much government experience, what he does have is a very long track record of controversial and inflammatory public statements. And I want to walk some of our viewers through just a few of them. Let's take last year, for instance, on the anniversary of 9/11. I want people to look at this tweet that Ingrassia shared. It's a video from conspiracy theorist Alex Jones pushing the false claim that the U.S. government either planned the attacks or allowed them to happen. Now, Ingrassia also defended Jones on several other instances, including a month earlier where he wrote, we quote, all stand with Alex Jones in June 2024. He was commenting on a video of Jones crying on his broadcast over fears that InfoWars was going to have to be shut down due to the $1.5 billion judgment against Jones for spreading those false claims that the Sandy Hook conspiracy theory was a hoax. Now, during the 2024 presidential primary, and this is really where Ingrassia first seems, from what we found, to have gotten on Donald Trump's radar, he repeatedly and harshly attacked Trump's political rivals using racially charged and sexist language. He called Nikki Haley a, quote, insufferable bitch. He mocked her Indian heritage in tweets. He shared a tweet that said,
in all fairness, I do call a lot of people bitch, so I probably can't criticize him for that.
Kamala Harris should, quote, seek a kitchen job, not POTUS. Posted that she decided to be black in one speech. He also repeatedly attacked Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and his wife, calling Casey DeSantis and a female spokeswoman harlots, and referring to DeSantis in tweets as DeSatan, DeHomo, and DeMeatball. Now, we also found audio of him saying that straight
when a guy that you're hiring to protect whistleblowers sounds exactly like every other internet troll, like that's how low the bar has gotten. When the internet trolls are like, hey, this guy actually doesn't sound that bad. That's how low we've gotten. Forget the fact that, even if you want to leave out the fact that this guy's an obvious troll and a hateful little prick, he also doesn't have any experience at all. And he seems to be entirely a loyalist to Donald Trump, which is a scary thing to do, to put loyalists into this position, regardless of where that of who the president is. A loyalist should not be somebody that is in a position to protect whistleblowers, especially when you are this loyal. Because if a whistleblower blows the whistle on a Trump pick or Trump himself, they won't protect him. See the issue we have here? These positions. Nobody has ever talked about this position before. Nobody usually even knows who gets these positions. Usually it's a headline. It's almost always every president historically, even Trump in his first term, chooses somebody very nonpartisan, somebody who's worked in the government a long time, specifically somebody who's probably worked in some sort of HR role, who has a long history of being able to call balls and strikes. We don't ever discuss this role because it's not usually a internet troll loyalist who is with no experience.
White men are the most intelligent demographic group, and he said they really should be prioritized in education. I want people to listen to this.
You'd be focused on maximizing.
Oh, so why you guys have all these fucking neckbeard psychopaths? How come every one of these people looks like a fucking villain from Harry Potter? Like, the look of these people is good enough.
Your top students in focusing on elevating the high IQ, section of your demographics. So, basically young men, straight white men in particular would have to be the focus.
Tell me that's not a white nationalist.
Trump's not a white nationalist, guys. We're not. Well, you guys all. This is why you guys lose, because you call us Nazis. You call them white nationalists. Well, stop putting fucking white nationalists in there then. Stop it. You got the dumbest people on earth running this country. And that's like, you cannot be an intellectual and be a white nationalist. Those two things don't go together. It's one or the other. Based quote. See, there's the white. Yeah, ultra based. Yeah, we got the white nationalists in here. You guys are such bitches. Every white nationalist in here, I want to look right in the camera. You are a bitch. You won't come up here and say anything. If you do come up here, you'll crash out. You'll drop a slur. The reason that you are white nationalist is because you don't have anything going for you. And honestly, I do sympathize with you. I sympathize with you in a way that, like, I have felt like I wasn't getting everything I thought I was going to be handed in my life. And you're not getting that. So you just turn into hateful little internet trolls. It's noon. It's 11 o'clock. Might be noon, 1, 2 o'clock. It's the afternoon everywhere you are. And yet you're on a YouTube channel seeing somebody specifically talk about white nationalism and how cool it is, and you're saying it's based. This doesn't end well for you. Just so you know, that it never does. This ends you being back where you are. Like, you know why you can't get women? Because you say shit like this is based. That's why. That's why you're fucking lonely. Isn't it ironic that every time you go on any sort of like online platform and there's somebody talking about how women are it's bashing women and how our culture is changing and women don't want to work in the house or just live in the house anymore? How come it's always a Republican man? Every fucking time. How come it's always a conservative? How come you guys are always the ones bitching about how women won't talk to you? How come your conservative content creators won't pay attention to you? I get more attention from requests for debates or requests for panels from conservative women because they don't even want to hang out in the same panels as you because you guys are sick. They try and just panel with you in these debates and they're like, Jesus fucking Christ. And I'll tell you this little secret. The only reason they keep doing it is because you guys pay them, because that's the only way you can get women to pay attention to you is if you pay them. You show up on these panels, you gift them, you send them a bunch of DMs, and they just put up with it because you'll keep paying them. Notice how you guys never land? Notice how that 2-year relationship with somebody you've had on the internet where you send them money and they send nice things back to you. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, thank you for calling me beautiful. You notice how they never meet up with you? You notice how they never get with you? You notice how they don't want to date you? Because they think you're sick. But you're stupid and you pay them money. Because it's the only way you can get attention. That's what the folks in here saying based are. A bunch of lonely dudes. Listen, nobody sits in and nobody hate watches something on the internet for hours at a time that has something going on in their life. Nobody hate watches shit for like 10 hours where like their life is going well. Your life's not going well. And you know that your life isn't going well. And you know that what I'm saying right now about your life is absolutely true. And you're thinking right now to yourself, yeah, that is interesting. Who's the biggest demographic growing with like content creators? Who are the biggest growing content creators on the right?
pretty women who tell you that you're not crazy, right? And you just send them money. And do they date you? They sure don't. They sure don't date you. But goddamn, is it nice to have you guys sending your money? So they feed your little egos, and you think things are going well. But then at the end of the night, you're still alone. You still go to bed alone every night, don't you? You're still trying to find that trad wife, aren't you? So you keep saying the same dumb shit. You keep demonizing women on the internet. You keep talking shit about women. You say dumb shit like, oh, basically, young men, straight white men in particular, would have to be the focus. You keep saying dumb shit like that, and they'll use you all day long for your money. And then you come to the conclusion, oh, women only use men for money. No. Women only use you for money, your type of men, because you don't have anything real to offer. Just a bunch of hateful little complaining.
And Andrew, you also found some ties between Ingracia and Nick Fuentes, the white nationalist and Holocaust denier. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that's right. Nick Fuentes is a white nationalist. He's a Holocaust denier, and he is probably the most prominent far right figure in this country. In June 2024, Ingracia was spotted at a rally for Fuentes, where Fuentes used harsh anti-Semitic rhetoric. Now, Ingracia told NPR and The Intercept that he had just stumbled upon this event by accident and that he left after a few minutes. But I want people to see here what the video actually shows. It shows Fuentes walking up to a crowd that was chanting his name, and Ingracia, who people can see there, is in the front row smiling as Fuentes arrives in the crowd. He also can be spotted several other times in the crowd as Fuentes speaks, staying for about 5 minutes or so. We also obtained a video that shows Ingracia even there before Fuentes arrived. This shows, that was another video we found. You can see him right there. He's also defended Fuentes publicly, including the day before. He criticized the Conservative Talking Points USA organization, which had kicked Fuentes out of a conference, calling it a, quote, awful decision, as you can see here in that tweet. He also wrote a Substack post that was titled, quote, Free Nick Fuentes, that argued Fuentes needed to be reinstated.
We got him a little upset, didn't we? We got him a little upset. Look, Jen's here. Jen sees my DMs. Jen's seen my DMs for like 2 years. It's a lot of conservative women that slide into the DMs. It's a lot of conservative women. They don't like you either. And I'm not really that kind of guy. Like, I'm not somebody who's online to flirt with people, so it doesn't go anywhere. But I can tell you this. It's the conservative women. They don't want anything to do with you guys either. They don't know what to do because they have conservative views, but they don't like their men. So if we're just going to be real honest about that, it's not they're not coming after you. They're coming after like human beings. What's up, Jen?
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, the inceldom is strong. I think you were in the live the other night where a guy was talking about a conservative ending no fault divorce.
Yeah, and those conservative men were hitting on you. It was pretty great.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. But so we've got about 2 hours left of the show. I know the numbers, it's 4th of July, not as many people are in here, but we wanted to do Friendly Friday today. So if you guys could help knock out that gift goal, that makes it a lot easier to be able to do Friendly Friday, as people I know will cry in the comments saying that, you know, we need to get a job. This is our job. We don't have to dig holes. So there's that. So we are crowdfunded, and that's how we can keep doing this each day. So if you guys help us out there, if you could subscribe on either platform. Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub. You can use Bezos' money. On YouTube, you can sub for free, but we also have 4 different memberships. We do have an event going on tomorrow that we're going to do a private members stream for the debate just going to be doing. So if you aren't already a member for YouTube, please do that if you want to watch the event tomorrow. And I'm working on something for sorry, Glorious, on Twitch that you dig the holes. There's nothing wrong with digging holes. I'm just saying there's other ways to make money besides digging holes. But so I think I mentioned this earlier. If you are on Twitch and you're a subscriber over on Twitch, I'm going to put some instructions on how you need to make sure that you are in Discord, how you're integrated with Discord so that we can recognize your subscription. I can't go in and automatically add people like I did for our last event. So watch out for those instructions so you can do the event tomorrow. And also check out our link tree. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch and Cameo and Spotify. So there's that. Did you hear about the woman who expired while writing her midterm exam?
I did not.
She passed.
Thank you. Thanks, Jed. Like Jed said before, we are crowdfunded. If anybody who could help us with monthly subscriptions or daily gift goals, that'd be greatly appreciated. We'll move on here. God, we got the incels fired up today. The amount of times I've been called gay today is great. I think. By the way, for a group of people who run around with all dudes all the time and have your all dude discords, it's ironic to call other people gay. Intimately, you guys are very gay. You seem to all really prefer your own company over women, and I like that for you. I'm glad that you have friends that you can be intimate with. I think that's a beautiful thing. Here's Brooke Rollins, who, by the way, is just supposed to work for the federal government, but she just is wearing MAGA gear. It's merch all day, every day. She's out here on the kickoff of the America 250 tour, which for some reason our president is doing a fucking speaking tour. Lord knows why. Probably to sell merch. I don't know what the fuck this is supposed to accomplish. I don't know why we're doing this. Donald Trump seems to only know how to campaign, so he's just always campaigning. He's not running again, so I don't know why we're on the campaign trail, but that's what we're doing all the time.
It's funny, you see the...
Oh, and this is Pee Wee Herman on the left.
Democrats in Washington, D.C., and, they're ripping apart the soul of our country. They're talking about transgender bathroom and boys and girls sports and open borders and sanctuary cities.
Literally nobody, go turn on MSNBC, CNN, literally nobody is talking about those things. This is that example of what Republicans have done to work themselves up into a hysteria. Literally nobody's talking about those things. The only place you ever hear about men and women's sports or tampons in bathrooms or bathrooms in general or sanctuary cities, the only place you ever hear about that is on Fox. Nobody ever hosts live. You ever noticed that I've never hosted a live talking about those things? I don't know a single person who has ever hosted a live or a YouTube show talking about those things. We never talk about that until you guys bring it up. This is a straw man to keep you hysterical so you don't notice that they're stealing from you right under your nose. You're like, yeah, they might be taking my money, but at least I don't have a tampon in my ass. Terrific. That's great. Nobody else does either, but we would also not like to be stolen from.
That's their vision for America. Our vision for America is similar to the founders 250 years ago when they said...
It does feel similar to the founders. Rights just for white men. Yeah, seems pretty similar.
We will govern ourselves. We will not be governed by a tyrannical monarch or a dictator or a king. We instead, for the first time in world history, will govern ourselves, and the greatest country in the history of the world was born.
All right, I want to read some, since it is July 4th, I want to read some quotes from our founding fathers, which clearly are warning us about today. I think they're warranted today. Thomas Jefferson said, "When governments fear the people, there is liberty. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny." It's very obvious right now what the people of America fear the most. The most fearful people in America are afraid of the government. The government is heavy-handed. The government has masked agents in the street. The government is threatening to take away your funding from your schools, from your cities, if you don't acquiesce to what they want. If you don't share their same foreign policy, they will remove you from this country. This seems an awful lot like Thomas Jefferson is speaking about this time right now. "I've sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. This is tyranny. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people, for good conscience, to remain silent." Now, that's not you that are talking in the chat. You guys don't have good consciences. You're all white nationalists. You're just racist dipshits. But those that are going along with this and staying quiet, that's all tyranny really needs, is a bunch of apathetic, lazy people to go along with it, to think that, oh, look, the flag is there. Look, they're saying America first. Look, they're saying that they're protecting us. So that's good enough for me. I'll just sit by and let tyranny take over. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. I hope that doesn't come to pass.
Enlighten the people, and tyranny and oppressions of body and mind will vanish like evil spirits at the dawn of the day. James Madison said, the accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, and whether hereditary, self-appointed, or elective, may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny. Yesterday, as 8 Republicans said, we will oppose this bill, which will massively increase spending and cut Medicaid from millions of people, Donald Trump called them into his office, and he said, do it, and he gave them merch. And what he said is, pass the bill that you are opposed to, pass it anyways, and I will use my powers as the president to use executive orders to not to do some of it. Pass it as it is, and then trust me, I'll do the right thing. That is the consolidation of power from the legislative branch into the executive. This is exactly what they're talking about. And a judiciary branch who has ruled that the president can commit no crime while in office and that you cannot have nationwide injunctions. The judiciary is also in the hands of Donald Trump. And this is what James Madison, our founding fathers, that you guys pretend you know anything about and pretend you give a flying fuck about, told us, avoid this. Avoid this. Do not let one person dictate what everybody does. You think I'm lying about that? Everybody, I saw 20 members of Congress yesterday say, we have to pass this bill for President Trump. People that opposed the bill, that then signed up for it, said, well, Trump won the election, so we must pass it for him. This is tyranny by every definition. If men were angels, no government would be necessary, said James Madison. How about John Adams? Remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There is never a democracy that did not commit suicide. I am very concerned that we just committed suicide on democracy. Here is a story yesterday, excuse me, as reported on by, I believe, MSNBC, so you guys can tune out, you Republican incels here. Nobody's talking to you anyways. Here's what the Trump administration now is doing to ensure that they maintain power.
New reporting from the New York Times on the Trump administration's weaponization of the DOJ, now looking at ways to go after election officials if the administration, quote, determines they have not sufficiently safeguarded their computer systems. That's according to people familiar with the discussions who spoke to the Times on the condition of anonymity to describe internal discussions.
Do you notice that there's Republicans in here that are like, yeah, it's a tyranny, but it's your fault? Do you notice that? No, it's your fault. You don't have to have tyranny. You don't have to have tyranny to get the things that you want. Not at all. That's what democracy is supposed to be, right? You don't always get what you want. So when you don't get what you want, you kind of have to settle for that because that's democracy. But what you're saying is if you would have just given us what we wanted, we wouldn't have to do tyranny. You guys know it's tyranny. You know what's happened. You know that democracy is over. There's a handful of Republicans right now standing in between democracy and tyranny and oligarchy. And I don't think any of them have the guts to do what's necessary. And if Trump can pull this off, what they're trying to do in the midterms, if they can pull this off, it's over. Like legitimately, it's over if they can pull this off.
Familiar with the discussions who spoke to the Times on the condition of anonymity to describe internal discussions. They go on to report that, quote, in recent days, senior officials have directed Justice Department lawyers to examine the ways in which a hypothetical failure by state or local officials to follow security standards for electronic voting could be charged as a crime, appearing to assume a kind of criminally negligent mismanagement of election systems. Already, the department has started to contact election officials across the country, asking for information on voting in the state. Those sources also told the Times that this move is not based on any new evidence, but rather on Trump's unsubstantiated, and we should note, legally disproven, claims of voter fraud and foreign manipulation.
This is the type of apathy I'm talking about. Donald Trump lost in 2020. It's been proven in court time and time again. All over this country, it's been proven. And you guys are so fucking lazy and obsessed with like not letting Democrats win that you have just decided that you're going to keep lying about elections being stolen. And so now all they have to do is tell you guys that there was election interference. Does anybody raise your hand if you think, like, if Donald Trump came out tomorrow and said, we have to redo our elections, we're going to gut everything, we're going to redo it tomorrow, and now the federal government is completely in charge of elections. By the way, this is part of Project 2025. Part of Project 2025 is making sure that you control the Federal Elections Commission. And what that also means is that part of Project 2025 is putting people in the Federal Elections Commissions who say, you cannot we will not cooperate with an investigation into us unless the president says that you can. And obviously, if the president has set up a situation where he's cheating elections, he will tell them, no, you cannot investigate. And by the way, who would choose to investigate? Pam Bondi. Who would she ask to investigate? Kash Patel. We're there. If Republicans don't stand up to this, then elections are done. If we can't win a majority in 2026, elections are done. It has to be overwhelming in 2026. You have to start now. You have to create a movement now. They know how unpopular they are right now. They know that what they're doing is unpopular. And it's true that the only thing maybe more unpopular than Donald Trump's policies is the Democratic Party. That might be the only thing with a lower approval rate than what Donald Trump is doing. But the midterms bring in new candidates. And if a new candidate is talking about how the DNC is garbage, but they're running for the DNC, then you get to alleviate that for the voter. If the voter says, I hate this policy, but I hate this party, and they're saying, I'm removing these people from this party, then people will vote for that. But those votes need to come in such large numbers that you can't cheat. The folks that are here today, you all know this too. You already know this. Trump hasn't won a single election. The Republicans have not won a single contested election since November. Every single special election that was contested has been won by Democrats. Every one. Any time you have like a 10-point swing, like an election's within 10 points, Democrats have won all of those. The writing is on the wall. Donald Trump, like in Arizona, he won the election in Arizona, but Democrats won down ballot. They won the Senate seat and they won the governorship. Republicans are deeply unpopular. Democrats are deeply unpopular. Trump is popular with Republicans. But he is not going to get voter turnout. He's not going to have the voter turnout in 2026. These folks are not going to show up and vote. They just don't. We already know most of them showed up in 2024 and voted for Trump and left the rest blank. The amount of time, I mean, you can go, this has been a way for like Democrats to claim that the election was stolen in 2024, which I don't agree with. But you can look at the amount of times Trump won and then somebody else, like a Democrat, won down ballot. That's because there were a lot of people who showed up only to vote for Trump, and then they did nothing else. And those people aren't going to show up to vote for fucking Mike Johnson. They're just not. They know goddamn well that they either need to suppress the vote, cheat the vote, or this big, beautiful bill better get really fucking good really fucking fast. Every economist has to be wrong for this to work. So they're just going to instead put into place, and they're talking. Why would they already be talking about this? Why would they already be working on a plan to get rid of electorates where they believe it's fraudulent? There hasn't been any evidence that there have been any fraudulent votes. The thing that you guys all believed, that Dinesh D'Souza video, 2,000 mules, it's not only was it debunked, he admitted it was debunked. He admitted that it wasn't true. Kerry Lake has lost 5 times in court. 5 different Republican groups have audited the Arizona election,
And they have found that there was no voter fraud. In fact, Joe Biden got more votes than they initially thought. Not a lot more. It's like less than 20. Why else would they be looking at this? Give me a different reason. And all they have to do to get these dipshits to side with them is be like, the Democrats are going to steal the election. They're going to steal it. So you got to give us all this power. And Republicans are like, okay, take the power. Take it. You can have it. Have all the power. I don't care. As long as Democrats are never in charge. Our days as the world power are done. Our days as the world's economic power are done. We're sliding in every meaningful way. We are sliding backwards. And this bill is going to make all of that worse. The only thing that this bill does that makes us better as a country when it comes to ranks is how much we're going to spend on our military. And that's it. Our healthcare will slide. Where were the big investments in education here? Did you see any investments in education? Did you hear the Republicans talking about making education better? Mm-mm. They just gave you the same tax rate that you already had. They didn't even change anything. You middle class folks that are celebrating, it's just the same tax rate that you've been paying for the last 8 years. What's so different? How is your life staying exactly the same going to make things better for you? Because, like you all say, trans people, as if that was somehow affecting you. Oh, the border, as if that was somehow affecting you. None of these things that you care about are actually affecting you. That's what's crazy about this. Like, even for the Republicans, what the fuck are you voting for? What is the benefit? What, this mass deportation? Yay! Now what? What did you get for that? Amy Lynn said, says someone on the right, the right are not big government. They're huge government growth. Karina said, I read yesterday that you can't spell hatred without red hat. Facts. Tanya said, happy Friday. Thanks, Tanya. Appreciate you. Happy Friday indeed. Charles said, thanks for being here. I really need this today. I got to be honest. I did not want to be here today. And I'm also going to be honest. Those of you who have been with me for a while, that is why I'm here today. That's the only reason I'm here today. Is because I know that sometimes it helps to have somebody talk through some shit with you. It is not a good day for America. On top of that, this guy's bonkers. I don't know what the fuck this guy's saying. He clearly has lost his mind a long time ago. This is just a hate-filled 80-year-old man screaming, bragging about himself. Why the fuck? This is our president. Today, he decided to go out and go on a nationwide tour to scream into a microphone about how great he is. He's not campaigning. Joe Biden didn't do this. Obama didn't do this. Bush didn't do this. No president ever has insisted on holding rallies where he screams into a microphone for 2 hours about how fucking great he is. This is some cult shit. This is fucking weird. And on top of that, nothing he says here makes any fucking sense, and almost nothing he says here is true.
You know, when I did the 250, there was nothing I could do. It was 250, it was 250. So I can't say that was my baby. The country happened to be 250 years old. But what I did do is during my first term, I got the Olympics and I got the great soccer, you know, that whole deal, right? What
you see right now is a man who doesn't remember the name of the World Cup. Now, this happens to me all the time where I forget a word, but I'm not a fucking narcissist. I don't pretend that I don't know the word. I say, what's that word? And then you guys usually help me. This is a man who is now going to ramble for like 30 seconds because he's too much of a narcissist to admit that he forgot what the World Cup was. And it's finally going to come to him. Now, Donald Trump did not get the Olympics. Donald Trump did not get the World Cup. That happens. Those things are determined well in advance, and they're all done through bribes. You get the World Cup because you bribe somebody. And it's not always the highest bidder. The World Cup moves things around. So they're going to take a part of the world where they haven't had the World Cup for a while, and they're going to talk to those people, and they're going to say, how much money are you going to bribe us with? And then we bribe them, and that's how we get the World Cup. Corporate sponsors bribe them. Nike bribe them. Gatorade bribe them. Probably Ford, probably GM. They all bribe. There's nothing more corrupt than the Olympics and FIFA. Probably FIFA is the most corrupt than the Olympics. But that's how all this works. I'd also like to remind you that the United States did not get the World Cup. It's
North America. It's Canada and Mexico. So he's taking credit for some reason for getting the Olympics and the World Cup because he takes credit for everything, which is not what a good leader does, which is not what a humble human being does. It's crazy to me to watch people worship these types, the Andrew Tates, the Donald Trumps, who spend all of their time talking about how great they are. That's not the mark of a good person, spending all the time taking credit for everything. The mark of a good leader, the mark of a good person is somebody who would say we, and who uses their time as the presidency to go out and do something. Instead, he's on a nationwide tour jacking himself off in front of dumbass conservatives.
Call it soccer, they call it football. I got them both. I got the Olympics. Yeah. First I got the Olympics, and I got it. I was president, and I said, you know, it's a shame. It's a shame. I got the World Cup, and I have the Olympics, and I did it. And you have no idea. President Obama didn't want to make a call to the Olympics. You know why? Because he went to Switzerland or wherever, and he said, you know, if a president goes to get the Olympics, you have to have a deal. You have to be chosen. He went there, and he came in fourth, so he hated them, I guess. And he
just made all that shit up. He literally just made all that shit up. The president has never really been involved in this stuff. But the reason that we didn't get the Olympics is, again, because they move it around and we bribe. The reason that the World Cup was in Qatar is because of bribes. It's how this shit works. Everybody knows it. And everybody agreed on it until Trump's president. And now they're like, actually, Trump is pretty great. You know, we never would have got this without Trump. We absolutely would have got both the Olympics and the World Cup, regardless of who was president.
Was unwilling to make a call, and they called me up. Democrats called me up, actually, from Los Angeles, and I said, I'll do it. I made the call, and I couldn't get the people off the phone because they were so starved for love, because nobody would call them from. Anyway, we made a deal. I got the Olympics. Then we got the World Cup.
He wasn't
with
included
Johnny.
in that.
We got the World Cup, and I got them both, and I looked at my people. I said, isn't it a shame? I got these two, but it wasn't in the next 4 years. It was right after that and the one after that. And I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and we also have 250, so it's a pretty wild term. But
once again, he's the president. Why is he doing this? Why is he on a speaking tour bragging? How is this? How is this? One, the role of the president. Two, how is it good? You've got a completely divided nation right now, completely divided. Whether you like that or not, why are we celebrating a guy who's going to go out the next day and divide more? I don't understand what your guys' obsession with divisiveness. I don't get it. No other president has ever done this. He's the only one who consistently goes out on speaking tours and just divides.
I got these two things that are incredible. Nobody else could have done it. I'm telling you, everybody wanted it.
That's a good point, Chris. And by the way, we're going to lose a bunch of money on the World Cup and the Olympics. It's going to cost us money. This isn't good for America, by the way. I grew up in Utah, and in Salt Lake, we had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to renovate Salt Lake City, to renovate all of our freeways. We had traffic for a decade that was ungodly. Also, that we could have the Olympics, we didn't come close to generating the money that we needed to pay for all that. It cost the Utah taxpayers billions of dollars. And you know what's left of it? You have these monuments that nobody gives a shit about. This is not like a celebration. I don't know why we think this is such a great thing. But once again, why the fuck is the president on a speaking tour instead of doing his job? Why on the day when he could come together, he could be like, look, I know you hate this bill, but let's come together. It is what it is. As Obama said, elections have consequences. Let's move on. I get it. We knew goddamn well when Trump won and when you guys got the House and the Senate, we all fucking knew that a tax cut for billionaires was coming. We all knew that they would extend this. We knew what this bill would mean. We understand elections have consequences. But then to go on a victory tour and just like rub it in people's faces and talk shit about Democrats, what kind of fucking leader is that? That is a dog shit leader in every aspect. There has never been somebody that the world considers a great leader who did this shit. This is just you guys being petty, and that's just him being petty. They're supposed to be the best of us, not the worst of us. This is the worst of America. This type of petty bullshit. He literally said hate like 50 times today. I'm not a leader. I don't lead the country. It's not my job to unite the country. It is his. And he's just on a hate tour now.
Could have done it. And I said, and I won't be president because I'll be president for 4 more years, but it won't be. And then they cheated and rigged the election. They rigged. You know, they don't even turn off the cameras when I say that now because now they know it's true too. But they knew it was true before. Remember, the cameras used to immediately turn off. You see all those beautiful red lights go off. Now I can say whatever I want because they know it's true. But they knew it was true before. It's fake news. That's what they call it. But you know what? This term is much more consequential than if I had done it the more traditional way. This was slightly harder, believe me. It's slightly more dangerous because there are criminals on the other side that tried to put your president in jail and went after him, just like they do in third world countries. And we all beat him together. We beat him because our level of popularity.
Just a jerk himself off. What tax breaks did you get for the middle class? The tax breaks were for everybody. No, they weren't. Just like in 2017, they weren't. You guys just listen to what they say and you believe it and you don't look at any data. Who benefited from the let's look at it. Who benefited from the 2017 tax cuts? Let's see. Do you think, now remember, you guys all said the same thing about the 27 tax cuts, right? Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at which demographics did well in the 2017 tax cuts. And by the way, this isn't a new bill. This is a reconciliation bill, which means it's just extending these tax cuts with a few extra provisions. The lowest the lowest Americans, the lowest quintile, the poorest among us saved about $70, $390 in the second quintile. And this doesn't include like the increases in pricing. This doesn't include, by the way, the Medicaid cuts that people are going to lose. $390, $910 to the middle. The fourth quintile, about $1,600. It's not until you get to the top 10% that you start to see big savings. $7,500 for the top 10%. Then you have the top 4%, $12,000. The top 1% saves $61,000. And the top 0.1% save on average $252,000, $250,000. $250,000 is what they get. And here's what everybody else gets. Imagine celebrating this today. Imagine seeing this chart, knowing what this chart shows, knowing that this is entirely fucked, and being so fucking arrogant and so fucking unwilling to look at data that you just leave this live saying the same dumb shit you came in saying. Yeah, it's for everybody. Totally, it's for everybody. This is good. Why do these people need any tax break at all? You know what happened under these tax breaks? These people made more money than they ever have before, and the gap between them and the middle class grew exponentially. So why is it that the people who benefited the most from the tax cuts, both in terms on how much they saved and in terms of how much their wealth grew, why are they getting the biggest tax cut? Why are they the ones that are getting more money? Why not do a $20,000 tax cut for the fourth quintile, for the third middle quintile, the second quintile? Why not level this out? Why not make this more even across the board? What if everybody saved the same amount? What if everybody had the exact same amount of dollar savings, or you tried to make it even that way? Would that not lift people out of poverty? Would that not lift the middle class? We know what happens when you give the top 1% tax breaks. They hoard the wealth. It does not trickle down. It does not lead to more jobs. It doesn't lead to better wages. It doesn't lead to a better distribution of wealth. It leads to rich people getting exponentially richer. And everybody else, their wages go up, but not even they don't even keep up with inflation. These people at the top, these mega corporations, they trickle down just enough that your wages barely go up, but they don't keep up with inflation. Meanwhile, their net worth 10x's. I don't know why we facilitate this. It's one thing if you're a capitalist and you're like, look, there's going to be some people that make more money. Some people work harder. Some people are smarter with their capital. And so those people are going to have money. I'm cool with that. I think if you want to work 80 hours a week and you want to reinvest your money and you want to reinvest that money into other businesses and those businesses do well and you make millions of dollars because you reinvested, that's fine. But you shouldn't get a tax break because of it. You shouldn't just all of a sudden get to keep more of your money. Why the richer you get, the less you pay in taxes? I want to show you a video from Scott Galloway. I might have forgot to put this in here. Let's see. Here it is. Here's Scott Galloway explaining the difference between when he was wealthy and when he became really rich.
Between rich and non-rich. And America has essentially become an operating system where the bottom 99% is basically a dope bag to get the 1% more money. Everything we do in the US is to get the 1% more money. I think every piece of legislation, right? My tax rate is 17%. When I was in my 20s and 30s and making hundreds of thousands of dollars, I made a lot of money, I was paying 30, 40% tax rate. Now that I make millions of dollars a year, my tax rate is plummeted to 17%. And in America, the reason they put up with that is that America's superpower is its optimism. And the majority of people believe at some point they're going to be in the 1%.
It's talking to you, all of you in here that are like, hey, I got to support this because one day I'll be rich. It's your optimism. And it is a superpower because it allows us to do great things. It also allows you to be manipulated, especially if you don't know what you're looking at.
Optimism. And the majority of people believe at some point they're going to be in the 1%. But effectively, with Social Security, for example, old people have figured out a way to vote themselves more money. And so the $120 billion increase of cost of living adjustment flies right through Congress, but the $40 billion tax credit for children gets stripped out of the infrastructure bill. So you've had this massive transfer, this unprecedented transfer of wealth from young to old and from the entrants to the incumbents. The bailouts that took place both here in the UK and the US were the greatest intergenerational theft in history.
Yeah, I can tell you where I got my facts from. Who asked that? Jeffrey. I get my facts from reading, dude. I'm up here asking for donations. We're completely crowdfunded, and this is the problem with America in general. Jeffrey, why can't you just analyze what I'm saying and fact check it yourself? Why do you assume that because what I'm saying goes against what you believe? Why do you assume that means I'm paid? Why don't you say, where's he getting these numbers from? Why don't you go check those numbers yourself? Every single person in here right now, if you have AI or if you have Google, I want you to Google this sentence. Will the big, beautiful bill increase or decrease deficit spending? Google it. Perplexity, Grok AI, I don't care. And every one of you right now, if you Google that, you are going to get an answer that agrees with me. And most of you are going to go, yeah, Google cheats. And by the way, I've got a screen here, so let's just do it. I need you to explain why Google keeps agreeing with me. Will the big... God, I'm a terrible typer. Big, beautiful bill increase the deficit. Okay, you all watched it? Where's my AI overview? Why are they not giving me an AI overview? Let's see. Where'd my AI overview go? Do I have to click something different to get an AI overview? Oh, there we go. Click on that. Why are they just not giving me an answer today? My Google screwed up. Let me go to AI. Let me go to Perplexity here. All right, we'll try Perplexity. Let me start a new thread. You can use that. I think Microsoft has one. Oh, the big... All right, here's Perplexity. You can see the question asked is, will the big, beautiful bill increase or decrease the deficit? Big Beautiful Bill will increase the deficit by a substantial margin over the next decade. This is according to the CBO, and independent estimates project that the bill will add between 3.3 and 4 trillion to the federal deficits over the next 10 years. So why are all the Republicans telling you that it won't? Why does the internet keep agreeing with me and never agrees with anything Trump is saying? How come all of you, in order for you guys to get, we've heard it, in order for you guys to say that it doesn't increase deficit spending, you have to quote some Republican who's like, oh, well, this, we don't trust their model. Senate version of the bill increased the deficit by about 3.3 trillion. Why? Yeah, see, David says lies. All right, David, tell me what to search. There's legitimately nothing. There's nothing that supports this idea. Which tax bracket benefits most from the big beautiful bill? Get rid of the income tax. Get rid of the income tax. Just don't pay any of your bills. You dumbass. We're 37 trillion in debt. We can't get rid of it. We have to pay for our debt. The big beautiful bill delivers tax cuts across all income levels, but the largest dollar benefits go to the highest income tax earners. Here you can see the average tax cut annually. Weird. Top 1% earners over 600,000 receive the largest average tax cut in dollar terms, over $21,000 per year. Middle income households will see an annual tax cuts of between $1,000 and $1,700 a year. Lowest income households receive the smallest dollar benefit, and many see their gains offset by cuts to Medicaid and SNAP, meaning no benefit at all. Just everybody, the internet's anti-Trump, Google's anti-Trump, math is anti-Trump, everything is anti-Trump. How come you guys can't find a single fucking source? You have a majority of the country had their representatives vote to give tax cuts to billionaires, and they're all lying to you. Will the big beautiful bill cut Medicaid? Yes, the big beautiful bill will significantly cut Medicaid. The bill reduces federal Medicaid spending by $800 billion to $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Able-bodied adults under 65, with some exceptions, will be required to work at least 80 hours per month to maintain Medicaid coverage. Failure to meet these requirements will result in loss of coverage for many. Fine. The bill mandates more frequent eligibility redeterminations. Twice a year, you have to go in and prove it again. That means increased paperwork, stricter verification process, more travel. People getting lost in the shuffle. A lot of people on Medicaid have no idea how to even get themselves on Medicaid, so they better hope that they have somebody in their family or a friend who's looking out for them, who's going to come in and help them. Otherwise, they're just going to lose their Medicaid, and they're not even going to know why they lost their Medicaid, and they're not going to know how to fix that. The CBO estimates that 10 to 12 million people will lose Medicaid coverage over the next decade due to these changes. Now let's ask, how many illegal immigrants receive Medicaid? Because that's their claim, right? How many of them? We can just do this all day long. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for federally funded Medicaid coverage in the United States. Federal law prohibits undocumented immigrants from enrolling in Medicaid, CHIP, or Medicare, except for very limited emergency medical services. Undocumented immigrants cannot enroll in Medicaid or CHIP. A small number of states like California, Illinois, Minnesota, New York, Oregon, and Washington use their own state funds, not Medicaid dollars, to provide Medicaid-like coverage to some undocumented immigrants, including some adults, children, and pregnant women. No official national count exists for how many undocumented immigrants receive state-funded Medicaid-like coverage, but the number is a small fraction of the total Medicaid population. As of March 2025, there were over 71 million people enrolled in Medicaid nationwide. Undocumented immigrants make up a tiny share of this total, limited to those states with special programs. So we're cutting it for potentially for some of these 71 million people because a handful of undocumented immigrants in some states get benefits, but they will tell you that that's what they're cutting here. Here's Trump, by the way, who claims he was going to veto if there's any cuts to Medicaid. Now that you know that these Medicaid cuts are not going to go for people who are not eligible or don't meet the requirements or illegal immigrants. Now that you know that these cuts will affect people who are absolutely qualified and meet the criteria to get Medicaid, do you think he's going to go back on this promise?
What happens if it comes to your desk, has the tax cuts, but also cuts to
There we go. There we go. Nick, do you honestly believe what you just read, buddy? Yeah, because Donald Trump said something different, buddy. And so, buddy, do you actually believe? Yeah, I believe what I read. I believe the CBO scoring. I believe every fucking economist who read this bill and went through the numbers. Everyone, 100% of economists agree. That never fucking happens. 100%. Cato Institute, Heritage Foundation, every fucking group that analyzed this bill said exactly what they just said. Oh, but do you really believe that, buddy? Because my feelings say otherwise, buddy. We got a bunch of dipshit buddies here. Yeah, but you'll just look at it. The truth will sit there. The truth takes its dick out and smacks you in the face with it. Oh, I didn't see anything. You have no fucking clue how to figure out what's true. It's just whatever this bloviated dipshit tells you, you believe.
Medicaid. Would you veto that?
No, we're not doing that.
Would
no,
you
we're
veto
not,
that?
I would if they were cutting it, but they're not cutting it. They're looking at fraud, waste, and abuse. And nobody minds that if illegal immigrants are in the mix, if people that aren't.
There you go, Elusive. They have already found over 2 million fraudulent Medicaid applications. Yeah, applications. 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 Why the fuck do you think we know that number? How do we know that number? Because those applications were denied. Yes, people can apply for whatever the fuck they want. See, this is how easy it is to dupe you. Same reason we know how many illegal immigrants tried to vote in elections. We caught them and they didn't count. That's how we have that number. You only know that number because we already knew that number and those people didn't get benefits. How the fuck do you think we got that number? Well, we better cut it since some people tried to get it. Notice how you had to bring up applications? Find me a number. Give me a source of illegal immigrants on Medicaid. Just one fucking source. Just give me one source that says illegal immigrants are on Medicaid outside of just these guys saying it. We've asked. They asked them in Congress, but Trump says, I'm not going to cut it. We're going to go over Mike Johnson's speech here. Let me read some comments. J OpenAI RTP talks. It's a goods read. What does it say? If I don't do OpenAI, but let me see what it says about me. Well, I'm just supposed to write my name. What do I say? Tell me about RTP talks. I've never done this before. RTP Talks is a daily live news and debate show with a strong presence across social media platforms, including TikTok, YouTube, Spotify. The show is known for its left-leaning political commentary, lively debates, and coverage of current events. That's true. The program is hosted by a group of political commentators, many of whom gained popularity on TikTok. The format includes news breakdowns, debates on trending topics, and audience engagement through live chat and call-ins. That's crazy. How do they do this? AI is wild. They have my schedule on there? God damn. That's interesting. I've never done that before. All right. Let me keep reading these comments real quick. FOD said, you shoot the shit with us and we appreciate it. If you need anything, let us know. Jen, J2, I guess. Bamarola, thanks for the donation. Heather said, I would say happy 4th, but it feels more like a funeral, just waiting for the phoenix to rise from the ashes. That is our democracy. Who will be our phoenix? It should not be a person. I think that's the thing that we need to make sure we avoid. We should not unite around a person. We need to unite around ideas. Ideas have staying power. People die. People leave office. People get exposed as frauds. The last thing I think the DNC should do is try and rally around one person. I think that is silly. I think that they need a unified message on stuff that actually matters to American citizens. All right. Here's the Wall Street Journal just explaining
one
what
big
passed
beautiful
here.
tax and
I guess you guys probably hate the Wall Street Journal too. Trump seems to like the Wall Street Journal a lot. Here's basically explaining what was in the bill if you missed it.
The motion is adopted.
What's going on here?
the House of Representatives passed President Trump's one big beautiful tax and spending bill.
Sort of celebrating like the biggest bill of its kind ever signed. And it's going to make this country into a rocket ship. It's going to be really great.
We're going to take you through some of the highlights of this bill. They extended basically everything that was scheduled to expire as far as the 2017 tax cuts. Back then, in President Trump's first term, Congress set all these tax cuts to expire at the end of 2025. Republicans really viewed those tax cuts as a huge success, and they made it a priority to remove that expiration date. The child tax credit has been $2,000. This bill will make it $2,200 and index it to inflation. Woo! The estate tax, they increased the exemption, so that's the per person amount that you don't.
I love this. Wall Street Journal is propaganda. They're showing you the text of the bill, and you guys still are like, this is propaganda. You guys are so fucking stupid at this point. When I played the clip of Trump, notice how none of them said propaganda? When I played the clip from Fox News, nobody said propaganda. These are pictures of the bill. They're citing the fucking bill. Why do you care who's saying it? This is crazy.
Won't have to pay estate taxes on to $15 million per person.
Why is that important? Americans all over the country are struggling. You're going to get, they just showed there, you're going to get a $200 increase in your child tax credit. But if you happen to inherit an estate worth more than $5 million, great news. Now now it's $15 million. You used to have an exemption on an inheritance of $5 million. Now it's 15. So we just gave rich people passing down money to their kids a bigger tax cut. Their kids who didn't work for that money, by the way. They're kids who just sat around and did nothing and now don't have to work for money because they're just getting a handout. That money doesn't have to be taxed either. But thank God we got that $200 per child tax credit. That's going to fix everything.
Republicans really disfavored electric vehicles and clean energy tax credits. And now anything purchased after September 30th is not eligible for those credits. On clean energy, the wind and solar in particular are taking a hit in this bill. They're going to be phased out faster. The state and local tax deduction has.
This one's an interesting one because I live in Arizona and Utah, and I have a lot of friends who make a lot of money in the solar industry, which is heavily subsidized by the federal government. And they all voted for Trump. And I've reached out to them, and they've gone real quiet. They were real chatty to me before November. They were real chatty to me in December. They were real chatty in January. All of a sudden, when Trump's undoing their business ventures, suddenly I can't get them on the phone. Suddenly I'm not getting those text messages back as it cripples their business, which we told them it would. No, he'll take care of us. No, he's not taking care of you. Solar businesses are going to go under now.
Been capped at $10,000 since 2017. There was a block of Republicans from New York, New Jersey, California in the House who wouldn't vote for this bill without a much higher cap. What they got was $40,000. It's a pretty significant amount. That starts phasing down once income reaches $500,000. This bill also includes some new items, particularly ones that President Trump campaigned on last year when he was running for a second term. One is no tax on tips, up to a $25,000 deduction for tipped workers.
Fuck your kids' tax credit. I don't want to pay for that. All right, you're a pretty good troll. I only want my taxes to go to pay for inheritance taxes. Fuck your kids.
Again, you're still going to pay payroll taxes on those, similar amounts for overtime pay. It's removing income taxes on the sort of half part of time and a half. So you'd still pay taxes on straight time, but then the additional half increment, you wouldn't necessarily pay income tax.
And this is the thing that is funny. Yesterday when I was debating somebody, he's like, we get the no tax on tips. I was like, how does that help you? He's like, well, I'm a content creator on TikTok. So these are all tips. Now I don't have to pay tax on that. That's not actually how that works. Those aren't tips. They come in. If you are a content creator and you make money with gifts, just so we're clear, everything you guys give to me, that comes in as income. I'm an independent contractor. I own my own business. So I do still have to pay taxes on that. And as an independent contractor, I can't write those off as tips. So it does not benefit you. Most of you don't have tips. Most of you don't. And most of you also don't work overtime.
So this is a pretty insignificant amount of money. That they, in fact, I don't even remember what the impact was. It was like a couple $2 billion. There's not a real big impact for either of those things.
You would get a deduction. Car loan interest for domestically produced cars, you'd be able to deduct thousands of dollars in interest. The fourth is a deduction for seniors. So the president talks about this bill making it so there's no tax on Social Security. That is not in fact the case. There's an approximation of that, an attempt to do something like that. It's a $6,000 per person deduction for people ages 65 and up. Generally, these provisions will all kick in for tax year 2025. They are temporary. They go from 2025 through 2028.
So now here's some of the shit. Here's kind of like the fucked up stuff the government does. And this is, people do this, but they're going to give this tax credit to seniors of $6,000. So they're still going to get taxed during the year. Their take home pay will still be the same. They're going to get a tax credit at the end of the year for $6,000. When does that expire? The next time a Republican's running for president. And they're going to say, oh, you better vote for me, seniors, so we can keep this tax credit there for you. That's what they're going to do. This is the kind of shitty shit that these dirtbag motherfuckers have done. That's what they did on this tax bill. And Americans are just, look, we're selfish. We're not that bright. We're by far the dumbest superpower collectively. Like as a country, like our IQ is plummeting. We are not that intelligent. Our critical thinking is in the toilet. And so what they do is they're just like, hey, you don't want your taxes to go up. And Americans are like, yeah, I don't want my taxes to go up. And so they just vote for lower taxes, they think. But their taxes don't go up, don't really go down. And then their cost of living increases. And then they blame Democrats. Like, oh, I voted for lower and the price went up. So price up, Democrats, price down, Republicans. And that's where we're at. Like we just have too many stupid people who think that every time the prices go up, that's like socialism and Democrats, and every time prices go down, that's Republicans and capitalism, and it's just obviously not true.
And we'll see how they go. We'll see who wins the 2026 and 2028 elections and how eager they are to continue those policies. Republicans were looking for ways to get more money for their priorities. So they were able to say,
Reg 3305, get them out of here. We don't do just blatant racism here, you fucking dipshit. You're on YouTube commenting, trolling in the middle of the day. I don't think your IQ is very high, but get the fuck out of here.
Okay, well, we'll just take the agencies we like and favor and that Trump wants more money for, ICE, Customs and Border Protection, Homeland Security, the Defense Department, missile defense, those kinds of things, and shipbuilding, and just plus those up and add up several $100 billion that are going to all of those things. One open question is what happens with the base levels of funding for those agencies, whether Congress, this Congress, or future Congresses, particularly if Democrats have some more power, start carving back some of the annual money for those agencies.
This dangerous and extreme Republican budget will result in Americans losing their lives.
And the biggest point of contention is Medicaid, which is the federal state health insurance program largely for low-income people. One of the things they did is create work requirements. So able-bodied people will have to start looking for work or having work in order to be able to get Medicaid work requirements. Among the biggest single items saving money in this bill, that's about $326 billion through 2034. You also see more frequent eligibility checks in Medicaid. And there are also changes to premium tax credits under the Affordable Care Act. All those changes will mean that by 2034, 11 million people will not have health insurance compared to what would happen if Congress did nothing here. Republicans were concerned about
which, by the way, like even if you were to have this assumption that there were a lot of able-bodied people who are not eligible for or shouldn't be eligible for Medicaid, which nobody's been able to show that number. And this is what Republicans have done in this bill. They start with the premise and then they work backwards. So they started with this idea that they had to cut money for billionaires. And after they start with here's how much we're going to cut for billionaires, and now we've got to figure out how to pay for that. And so that's why the number for how much they were cutting for Medicaid, they didn't go down and they didn't say here's how many people are on Medicaid that are here illegally. Here's how many people are on Medicaid that should be able to work, that are able-bodied, that don't work. Here's the people who shouldn't be on Medicaid for whatever reason. If you were looking at cuts to Medicaid and you were looking at like an efficient way to actually cut it, you would get all of those numbers, you would compile those numbers, and then you would cut that amount. But they didn't do that. They picked the number first. You guys are going to have to explain that to me. How did they choose the number of how much they were going to cut before they decided where they were going to cut? And this is why they keep running into problems. The number is somewhere between $800 and $880 billion that they need to cut. And that offsets the tax cut that they gave to rich people. And they have not been able to show any of their work that shows that the $880 billion will be cut from people who don't deserve Medicaid. We've asked for their work. Show us your math. No. Yeah, please? No. Okay, what math do you have? Well, here's the math we have. It makes up about 3% of the $880 billion. They have been able to account for about 3% of what they're cutting. They've been able to say, like, this 3%, we know for sure that this 3% are people who should not be on Medicaid, and we're going to remove them from the rolls. That's it. It's because they worked backwards. And this is why I know that Republicans don't give a fuck about you. They started with the new tax cuts. And what were the new tax cuts? Because remember, most of this is the extension of the TCJA. So your tax cut, everybody here, your tax rate stayed exactly the same. You're not getting a cut. I don't know why the fuck you think you're getting a cut. You're not getting a cut. You're staying the same. What they're saying that, oh, well, this tax cut would expire and now we're extending it, so we're giving you a cut. No, everything you've been complaining about for the last 7 or 8 years, it's going to stay exactly the same for you. You are getting absolutely no benefit. None. Because that's the tax policy that we're on right now. But corporations are going from 21% to 6%. Inheritance tax is going from $5 million to $15 million. The tanning beds, now we can write off tanning beds. Now you can write off gun silencers. Now you can write off like whale harpoons. And all this bill, all these exemptions that went in to get Republicans to sell this bill, all of those tax cuts are what we're actually paying for. You are getting absolutely no benefit. So everything they're cutting is in a response to the stuff that they've added to the bill, which is corporate taxes, which is loopholes, which is deductions, which is pass-through income, which is investment income. All of these cuts to Medicaid are because they took the existing tax structure and they cut a whole bunch more taxes for rich people and said poor people are going to pay for this. And then they tell you you're getting a tax break, but you're not. Quick, want to see? What was the tax rate for the middle class? We can just Google this. From the TCJA. All right. I'm going to Google this over here. The Tax Cut and Job Act of 2017 lowered effective tax rates across all income groups, including the middle class. So we have, let's see, the average effective tax rate dropped from 14.4% to 13%. If we just look at the tax, where's the tax brackets? Let's see. I should have tax brackets 2017. Let's do that. Oh, it would be 18 actually, because it went into place in 2018. All right. We were at 10%, 12%, 22, 24, 32, 35, 37. These numbers didn't change. These are the same numbers that you just saw, right? Aren't these the exact same numbers in this bill? So are you getting a tax break? Mm-mm. Your taxes are staying exactly the same. It's just rich people. It's funny to watch the people in here too, by the way, it's saying like, oh, you're just Trump derangement syndrome. Trump didn't pass this. This goes to show what your Trump derangement syndrome is. We're talking about the House right now. How come when I talk about Congress, you guys are thinking about Trump? Is it because you guys just only think about Trump? And that you guys recognize the shit that you'll argue with me when I say that your party stands for nothing. Your party is just Donald Trump. You are the ones with Trump derangement syndrome. I'm showing you Congress, and you're talking about Trump. I've been talking about Congress the whole time, and there's been at least 50 comments of people being like, dude, you just hate Trump. You should thank Trump for the show because he keeps you going. We're not talking about Donald Trump right now. Why are you talking about Donald Trump? Because you know what everybody else knows. You guys are just cucky little bitches to Donald Trump. Whatever he says goes. Whatever you guys do, you give him credit for. He is your king. He is your savior. He is above Jesus Christ for fucking all of you. Every one of you. If you're a Christian and you're voting for this, you don't get to say that you love Jesus more than money anymore. It's money first, then it's Jesus. Fuck Christians today who said, we need to give those rich folks a bigger tax break.
Effect of that on the providers. And so to deal with the changes they created, there's a $50 billion rural healthcare fund.
This bill represents, in the text of this bill, the largest and greatest loss.
Pamela said, I'm now retired, worked 28 years in this field. Too many able-bodied people use the emergency room for doctor's appointments. Yeah, I wonder why that is. I wonder why that is, Pamela. Let's talk about it. For decades, insurance companies could not provide any coverage to you if you had a pre-existing condition, and it was expensive, and if your employer didn't provide you insurance, then you didn't have insurance. And it's unaffordable. So Obama runs for office, and he says, I'm going to do universal health care. And he tried to do single-payer universal health care, and Republicans said, we can't do that. What about these poor insurance companies? What's going to happen to these insurance companies? What if we just didn't have the government pay for healthcare and we had these insurance companies do it and we'll just give them money? Instead of taking that money and doing government health insurance, let's just have the insurance companies keep doing it and we'll pay them with our money. Don't worry, this will make the prices be stable. And then they rose prices anyways. And then as soon as Trump got in office, they just started ripping apart Obamacare and ripping apart all of these protections. And so now people lost their health care. And now they don't have a choice. They only have the emergency room. Right? Suddenly you were allowed to not have health care in this country anymore. And then places like Walmart, who employ people for 40 hours a week, they don't pay enough for people to pay for health insurance. So Walmart teaches people how to get Medicaid. My question for you is, how the fuck did you know who was how did you know, working in the industry, how did you know who was working and who wasn't? How did you know who was able-bodied and who wasn't? Were you trained to understand their mental conditions too? How do you know they weren't looking for jobs? How do you know that they hadn't been looking for a job and couldn't find a job for 6 months? You don't. I don't know if you worked in that industry or not, but you don't have expertise in this. I'm sorry, like, working in an emergency room gives you no view into their life. It just tells you that they're there and they don't have insurance. And maybe they can walk, maybe they can't. You have no idea, right? Sorry if I'm misrepresenting what you said, but it seems to me like you're saying, like, oh, it's all the able-bodied people that are the problem. I don't have health insurance either. I'm self-employed. I don't have an option for health insurance. I have to use like a cost sharing. So when I went in, like when I had my kid, because we have cost sharing, I went into the emergency room, or to the, I guess, whatever, to the maternity ward. I don't know what you call it. We had a kid, and as far as they knew, I didn't have health insurance. I said, I'm cash pay. So would you have assumed that I was able-bodied as well? You have no clue what people are doing when they walk into that emergency room. You have no clue what their finances are. You have no clue how able-bodied they are. It's always fear tactics. And for what fucking reason? Because your party, the Republicans, want to make sure that these insurance companies can keep profiting off of you. There's no reason they should exist. They don't exist anywhere else in the world. They only exist here, and we have one of the worst healthcare systems in existence. If you take the return for a dollar, no, there's almost nobody worse. We're the most expensive, and we have some of the worst outcomes. And they just scare you into thinking it's bad. Oh, you're going to wait forever. Number 1 wait times in the world, Canada. Number 2, the United States. And I'm not advocating for Canada's system either. I don't like their system. I don't like the UK system. I'm far more interested in Denmark and Sweden. I'm far more interested in Medicare for all. But this is the thing, like they just have conditioned you to think that you can't have any good things and that America does it right. We say it every day, but nobody copies our system. Nobody. Every other country in the world looks at our system and goes, oh, it's wait a minute. You spend more than us, and before you can even get any of your stuff covered, you have to pay a $10,000 deductible? What the fuck? They laugh at us. They're like, how has your country convinced you that it's more important to have 1 million bombs that you can bomb people from anywhere, and that these billionaires need to exist? How the fuck are you guys so dumb that your country has convinced you to sell yourself in a trade for billionaires having more money? This is why we're a fucking joke, because we don't even advocate for our own best interests. We have a bunch of people here in this country with daddy issues that are like, if I don't have money, if I can't pay for healthcare, I didn't deserve it. All right. Okay.
Of healthcare in American history.
Democrats have highlighted in this bill is really the contrast between the effects on low-income people who are receiving benefits from Medicaid and nutrition assistance, and the tax cuts that go to some extent to...
Yeah, Pamela's clearly lying. Pamela's clearly lying. Listen, I saw their medical records. People use ID numbers that didn't belong to them. How did you know that? How did you verify? How did you, 1, pull up their medical record, and 2, find an ID number that didn't belong to them? How did you find their medical records if they used an ID number that didn't belong to them, Pamela? You're just lying. You're just one of those people who is too dipshit to understand any of this shit. And you're probably lying about your profession too. You probably didn't actually work in the emergency room. You're now just online lying to defend a system that steals from you and makes your medical, makes sure that you have shitty medical coverage. Yo, we got to protect these insurance companies at all costs. It's very important.
Tipped workers, but a lot of money is certainly going.
Sorry, I missed that. Zach said the next step in Medicaid is to cut the bureaucracy in Medicaid to let people even get Medicaid. 100%. They're already doing that, Zach. That's what they're covering here. They're making it more difficult to get Medicaid. They want it, and they don't give a fuck. Like, people are going to die. People will die waiting for Medicaid, and they just don't give a fuck. They're just going to count it as another number. They're going to pretend that it wasn't them. They're going to, and then when it happens, and they say this person didn't know how to renew their Medicaid, and now they couldn't get coverage, they're going to go, well, I mean, what are we going to do? Like, we gave them a process. We can't control if they follow the process or not. They know goddamn well how many people that are eligible for Medicaid will fall off because they have the projection. They're telling us that all of these people falling off the rolls will pay for that $800 billion. Just think of this. The Republicans are telling you right now that they can identify 3% of those $800 billion in cuts. They can identify 3% of that is fraudulent or abuse. And they are telling you that despite only giving you 3%, they know that they can get rid of $800 billion just by making it more difficult to get it. What does that tell you? It tells you that they know who's on Medicaid, and they know, because they've looked at those projections, how many people will fall off, and they get this little gray area where they get to pretend that they didn't know that these cuts would make it so that people who just didn't really know like how to make sure they stayed on Medicaid stayed on it, and then those people die. They know this. They're telling you this. They're honest about it. They just won't quite get to the part where they're like, oh yeah, people dying will be our fault. But they're telling you exactly that. We can identify 3%. The other 90%, fuck them. We know that they're on it legitimately, but fuck them. We're going to make it harder for them to stay on this legitimately, and then those people are going to fall off the rolls. That's where they're getting their projection from. And they're getting this projection because they've seen it done in states like Alabama, where in Alabama they cut Medicaid expenses by making it really fucking difficult for seniors to get on Medicaid. And they made the process, you have to jump through more hoops, and you have to reauthorize it more times. They know what they're doing. They just get this gray area where they don't have to say, we cut it and they died. They say, well, we gave them a chance. We made it really fucking difficult, but if they would have done it right, they would have got Medicaid. All to pay for a tax cut, not for you, not for your neighbors, not for your parents, not for your kids, but for a bunch of fucking billionaires. That's what they're paying for. Because again, remember, the taxes are the same. If everything's staying the same, then they don't need to cut. So because they're cutting revenues by cutting taxes for rich people, they have to steal from poor people through Medicaid to pay for that.
going to very high income people. So if Democrats win the House majority next year, you may see them try to delay or change those tax cuts.
It's going to add much more to the debt. And so I think without question, this is not a fiscally conservative bill.
This bill absolutely increases
shout
the
out to
deficit.
Rand Paul for being one of two principled human beings in the Republican Party. There's two of them. Three, I guess.
The way that Congress looks at this generally is what happens to deficits over the next 10 years through 2034 if compared to a scenario where Congress does nothing. That's about $3.4 trillion according to the Congressional Budget Office. That's on top of the $21 trillion or so in budget deficits that would happen anyway. Republicans have sort of two very different arguments about why they think that's over.
See, the dollar has lost its value. Before November, it was 140 Icelandic kroner each dollar. Today, it's 125 kroner each dollar, making it cheaper for us to shop in the USA than in Iceland. But wait, that's socialist hellhole of Iceland? Shouldn't you guys all be broke because you have universal health care, Asta Sophia? How come all of these other countries' currency is staying stable and ours is crashing if you guys are doing all this socialism?
Stated. One, and this is coming from the Senate, they say, okay, look, let's just assume that the tax cuts were going to be extended anyway. That's 3.8 trillion. And so really, if you look at it that way, this is reducing deficits by 400 billion. The other way that
Jessica said America's in mourning today, facts.
Republicans look at it is they say economic growth. They argue that the tax cuts plus other Trump policies, whether it's deregulation, energy production, those kinds of things, are going to speed up economic growth and throw off more tax revenue and therefore pay for a large chunk of this bill. Economists outside of the White House are very concerned about the drag of budget deficits on the economy, and they're worried about higher interest rates and a growing pile of debt sort of counteracting that growth effect.
Kind of hard to stay on Medicaid when they send an address to your paperwork to an address you haven't been at for 6 years. Yeah. I mean, this is not an expenditure. We could just cut the military budget and pay for healthcare. We could cut the military budget and pay for these tax cuts. Like, even if we were giving tax cuts to billionaires, why not cut from the fucking military? I thought you guys said we didn't want to do wars anymore. I thought you guys were the ones that said, like, no new wars, America first. Why don't we just cut from the military? Why are we increasing the military budget? Why do we have to steal from poor people? I'm far more concerned about our military murdering innocent people all over the world than I am about some dude getting free health care by gaming the system. I don't care. It's one of the smallest problems we have is people like stealing from our entitlement programs. How about all the people that steal from the Pentagon? They haven't passed a budget in how long? People steal from the Pentagon every fucking year. You see those stories of, like, they bought pens. They bought a box of pens was like $500. You're like, what the fuck? Every year that happens. Do you guys ever audit the Pentagon? Do you ever cut spending, wasteful spending to the Pentagon? No. Every time you're in office, you increase the Pentagon budget. And for what reason? We haven't been at war forever. In fact, we left the only war that we were in. We're not in Afghanistan anymore. Why are we increasing the Pentagon budget? We're already way bigger than every army combined. Why do we increase that budget? Money. Lining the pockets of Republicans. Boeing, Halliburton, Northrop Grumman, all of BlackRock, Vanguard, Blackwater, all of these companies. They're just putting a little money in their Republican congressmen's pockets. And then they're like, oh, we better build up our military some more. Oh, but we can't pay for it? I have an idea. Let's steal from poor people instead. Let's just, we definitely need Vanguard to make more money. We definitely need BlackRock to make more money. Let's do that and steal from some poor people instead. Here's a supercut MSNBC put together of all the Republicans talking tough before they eventually, like, we'll never vote for this bill. And then they all just cucked their way to voting for this bill.
What the Senate did is unconscionable. What they did to our bill was unconscionable. I'll vote against it here, and I'll vote against it on the floor.
You're going to hear
voted for it.
A lot about the tax cuts, but the deficit, nobody's talking about the deficit. Nobody. I got it. The tax cuts are important. We are going to get the tax cuts done in some fashion. But we cannot saddle our children and our grandchildren with an exploding national debt.
Do I like this bill? No, because
Military budget. Military budget's not keeping me safe at night. Bitch shit. No, it's not. The military budget is used to murder people. Nobody's attacking the United States. If you tell me if we cut $200 billion, if we cut $800 billion from the Pentagon budget, are you telling me that overnight, then all of a sudden I wouldn't be safe? This is the thing. You guys are such scared little bitches all the fucking time. When was the last time somebody attacked the United States? 9/11? And guess what? We had a massive budget and it didn't stop a goddamn thing, did it? They still do. They still did it. Nobody's attacking us. We can blow every one of their countries out of the water. We can decimate their country with the push of a button. And that capability already exists, so we don't have to fund new capabilities. We don't have to fund all of these private military contractors. And again, pass a fucking budget. We know that we overspend on the military. Just pass a budget. You can have the same military that you have now, but you could do it without, and you could audit them. How come Doge was willing to go cut everything except for the military? Why didn't we have Doge in the military? Why didn't Doge go in there and find wasteful spending in the military? You guys are so fucking ass backwards. It's crazy. The amount of shit you're willing for our country to just spin down the toilet for 40 fucking straight years. 45 fucking straight years. We've gotten worse at everything. Ever since we did trickle-down economics, everything in this country, compared to the rest of the world, has gotten worse. Our education is worse. Our food supply is worse. Our healthcare is worse. Our infrastructure is worse. Our innovation is worse. Now we're a services industry. We don't even make anything. Every significant invention that we've had in the United States comes because China supplied all the materials. We don't do anything here anymore. We just do money. That's it. We invest in shit. We do services. While our education crumbles. Wealth inequality spirals. You have no clue what you're looking at. Trickle-down economics is a failed experiment. Kansas, when you wind up in a state like Kansas, where states are required to have a balanced budget, it only took Kansas about 3 years of doing trickle-down economics before they went, out. Art Laffer, gone. Because they did trickle-down economics for 3 years, and it put them in a massive hole. And they're not allowed to be in a massive hole because they have to have a balanced budget. The only reason we can't have a balanced budget is because we're still doing trickle-down economics. We can't have you cannot have a balanced budget and trickle-down economics. It doesn't work. There's no way to do this. But because we don't have a requirement for a balanced budget, they keep doing trickle-down economics and telling you, oh, it's the Democrats. Oh, it's the Republicans. No, it's trickle-down economics. It's a regressive tax policy. It's a tax policy that it favors the rich and hurts the poor. That's why we have massive deficits. That's why our healthcare sucks. That's why our schools suck. That's why our unions suck. That's why our retirement sucks. That's why we don't have paid vacation. That's why we don't have paid leave. It's why we have millions of Americans without health insurance. Why? Because it's so goddamn important for you guys to suck the dick of billionaires while never becoming a billionaire, ever. You're just sucking their dick and watching our country get worse. And you can call it crying all you want. It's just dumb. Whatever it is, it's just dumb. It's the worst possible way to run a country. Nobody else does it. Everybody's watching what we're doing and going, fuck that. We're not doing that. But we have a bunch of dipshit Republicans who just don't do math. Oh, yeah, well, math is really too woke anyways. I'm really more into, I'm into plumbing. Just do some fucking math. None of this is paid for. And every cut that we made has hurt poor people. Name one thing we cut that hurt rich people. Just one. You can't. There were 0 cuts to rich people. Every cut is about poor people. And you might say, oh, well, those people are scammers. Who the fuck are these rich people? They're fucking honest? These rich people are all criminals. Every one of these banks, they're all criminals. Every one of these healthcare companies, they're all criminals. They've all been sued. They've all been caught scamming. They've all lost lawsuits. Every fucking billionaire in this country has been criminally held liable or civilly held liable for crimes. Civil crimes, the same thing that you are accusing people of stealing welfare for. That is a civil crime. They're bad, but the billionaires get a tax break? Give me a fucking break. What the fuck are we talking about here? It's like you don't give a fuck if somebody's a criminal who is rich. You only care about poor criminals. And you set these laws like poor criminals are hurting this country, and they're not. It's rich criminals. A poor criminal has never hurt you. When they steal from Medicaid, it doesn't hurt you one goddamn bit because they can't get that much. What do they get? Some medical care? But when a rich criminal steals from you, we have 2008. The whole fucking financial market collapses. And it's going to happen again. Because you know what we didn't do after 2008? We didn't make good laws. And so now we've got a bunch of adjustable rate loans floating out there in the VC world, and they're wrapped into all of our investments. And when it comes time for those to collect on those adjustable rate mortgages, or not mortgages, loans, people are going to default, and that will skyrocket the rate of the loans, and our financial markets will crash again because they have to crash. That's the system that we're in. All of our financial markets are phony. They're completely fraudulent. And they have to crash. So we're waiting for this crash. There's no other option. They have to. Because the money that is wrapped up in these financial markets is so inflated and so phony that we have to crash the market in order just to get the middle class to come back in and be able to invest. It's required that we crash the market. When were most people able to buy houses? Again, after 2008, about 2011, 2012. Why? Because the market had to crash to make houses more affordable. Tesla's a multi-billion-dollar company, and they make almost no money. In fact, they only make money because of government handouts. If you take away the government handouts, Tesla loses money, and yet Ford and GM turn a profit every quarter nearly, and they are worth 400% less than Tesla. Why? Why is that? It's because the investors in Tesla started by investing in PayPal, and then they exited PayPal at this valuation, and they picked up $300 million, and they invested in another company. Let's call it whatever company, Solar City, if it's Elon Musk. And he went into Solar City. And guess what happened? Solar City was losing money every quarter until they eventually went bankrupt. But the value of Solar City kept going up. Why did the value of Solar City keep going up? Because Elon convinced his rich friends to keep investing, and the investment, not the profitability, drove the stock price. So the stock price went up despite the fact that Solar City wasn't making any money. And then what did Elon do? He declared bankruptcy, and he exited with all of that money. And then he invested in Tesla, and they invested in Palantir. Every company that Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, every one of these companies that they have invested in are losing money, and the value is increasing. It's a completely fraudulent market, and it has been for a long time. Value is opinion. What drives the market, and it's the same with cryptocurrency. Why is cryptocurrency valuable? Because a bunch of people say it is. And what makes the cost of cryptocurrency go up? People putting money into cryptocurrency. What makes the value of cryptocurrency go down? People selling cryptocurrency. Our entire economic model is vibes. None of our markets make any fucking sense. None of them. The most valuable companies in this country don't make money. They just convince other rich people to invest in them, and it drives up the stock. But they're not actually making any money. Isn't that crazy? And we're giving those people a tax break right now. And when it crashes, we're going to bail those people out. We're going to bail out the auto manufacturers. We're going to bail out the AI companies. We're going to bail out the EV manufacturers. We're going to bail out the social media companies. We're going to bail everybody out. And those same people that crashed our market will still be rich. And the people who have been investing in Tesla and the people who've been investing in Facebook and Google, all these and all these startups, when the market crashes, they will lose everything. But the rich will still be rich, and then they'll buy up as all these people panic sell as the market is crashing, and they think, oh no, there goes my life savings, and they panic sell. The rich among us will just sit there and wait. And as it drops, they'll just buy up those shares, and then it'll bottom out, and it'll come back up, and those rich people will get richer. This isn't even, you don't even need a tinfoil hat for this shit. This happened every time. Look at our economy. Let's look at the stock market by year. Just look for over 100 years. It goes up and it crashes. It goes up and it crashes. It goes up and it crashes. It goes up, crash, up, crash. What are these crashes? What are all of these crashes? Every one of these crashes, every time you see a dip, what happened in all of these dips? They found out that the companies weren't nearly as valuable as they thought, and people sell and they dip. Every one of these dips is people selling. And by the way, what about Warren Buffett? Does his wealth go up after these crashes? Absolutely. Why? Because he has capital, because he has liquidity, because he has access to capital, because he has access to liquidity. This is completely fraudulent. And yes, the American people, if you stay in, if you just keep your money in the stock market for long enough, you will make money. You will get returns. But you will never match the returns of rich people, because rich people can buy the dips. And when they dip, they can hold. They don't have to worry about selling things off to pay for their mortgage. They don't have to worry about when their company downsizes and they lose their job and they have $100,000 sitting in a retirement account, but they don't have a job for a year because our economy collapses. They have to cash out that retirement account so they can pay their bills. And who buys those stocks? People with money. Who always has money? The richest among us. So they get to buy the dips. And then we give them tax breaks. And then we tell them, go ahead. Hey, thank you. Thanks for that. And then we give them a tax break. And then the tax break leads to a budget deficit, which we're going to have now. We're going to have a $3 trillion budget deficit. And how are we going to pay for that deficit? We are going to take out loans. Donald Trump already said we need to increase the debt limit so that we can sell loans. What are loans? Treasury subsidies, right? What do treasury subsidies include? Repayment, an APR that you pay back. Let's call it 5%. So now we're going to take out $2 trillion extra dollars in loans, and we're going to sell treasury bonds for those loans, and we are going to pay 5%. And you know who the biggest buyer of our treasury bonds are going to be? American billionaires. So we are going to cut taxes for American billionaires to free up money that then they are going to use, and they're going to give it to the government, and the government's going to use the money that these billionaires loan to them to pay our bills, and then the government is going to pay them 5% interest on that money. It's a double fucking. They fuck you in the ass, and then they come back and fuck you in the ass again. And you know who else is going to buy our treasuries? China and Japan. Well, maybe not Japan. They said they don't want to buy our treasuries anymore. Canada, Mexico, the UK. All of this deficit spending that we're doing, it's not just like, hey, this is bad. We're in debt. Sierra, come up and explain it to me. Who's the number one purchaser? Let's do this, Sierra. Who is the who purchases U.S. Treasury bonds. The most. Whoops. Just look it up. Primary purchases of U.S. Treasury bonds are a mix of domestic and foreign entities. Japan and China are the largest foreign holders of U.S. debt, with substantial amounts held by other nations and the Cayman Islands. Domestically, the Federal Reserve, the U.S. households and corporations, and broker-dealers are also significant buyers. And we pay them interest. So was I wrong about that? Turns out I was right about that one too, wasn't I? Professor Galloway, what he said earlier when he said like America's like greatest superpower is our optimism. This is what I'm talking about. Americans are incredible at being confronted with obvious problems and just pretending that they don't exist. Are you saying the market should be 100% predictable? It is 100% predictable. What are you talking about? It is predictable. It's 100% predictable. It's gonna go up, and it's gonna go up the more people invest, and then eventually it's gonna crash because people run out of money and people stop investing, and so the market crashes when people stop investing, and the people with liquid or capital buy the dip and they get richer. That's why it used to be like 30% of Americans couldn't afford to, didn't have money left over at the end of the month. Then it was 40%, then 50%, then now it's 60%. And we now have this exacerbated problem where most Americans cannot afford to invest. People that are making good money, go live in Dallas. If you're not making $200,000 a year in Dallas, it's going to be hard for you to invest. It's going to be really difficult for you to invest. Go live in San Francisco, New York City. Make $150,000 there. You're not investing. And then you say, okay, well, I'll live in Alabama. Okay, well, then when you move to Alabama, sorry, you're not making $150,000 anymore. You're making $40,000. Most people can't invest. So this market always has to crash, and then we sell the debt. This is so fucking crazy. We're in debt because we give billionaires tax breaks, and then the billionaires buy the debt, and then we pay them on top of that. So they keep their money, and then they use their money to buy our debt, which we then pay them interest on. This is such a fucking scam. And Americans need to wake the fuck up. Specifically you, Republicans, specifically you. These billionaires like you because they cut your taxes. They vote for you because you cut their taxes. They talk nicely about you and how smart you are because you keep cutting their taxes. When the richest among us are upset, we know we've done the right thing. Amy Lynn said poverty is highest in Republican-ran states, and they're the most dependent on public assistance, so they are waste, fraud, and abuse. Agreed. We should sell their land. Danny, thanks for the super chat. Amy said Obama raised taxes on the wealthy. Some in the chat apparently have no idea. It's a good point. Even if we didn't raise taxes, even if we kept them the same, but lowering taxes is crazy. Tony said, can we send these morons to Alligator Auschwitz? No, I don't believe in concentration camps, unlike the Republicans who are very pro concentration camp. Did I miss any there? Okay. Let's see. It's 12:30. I'm going to go 10 more minutes, and then we're going to get to Friendly Friday. Let me update the gift goal and see where we're at. 70 minus. I'll play an ad for you while we're going. Where is it? Like, nobody's as soft as a conservative. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Those conservative men are soft as shit. That's why every time you go to a conservative podcast, it's like, and now to our sponsor, Blue Chew. Your dick can work again. You don't have to scream at women when your dick doesn't work. This'll fix it. It'll fix it. You don't have to scream at women. Just get yourself a Blue Chew. Get that blood flowing and maintain those firm erections. All right, about 10 minutes left before we go to Friendly Friday. Just a reminder, you need to be in the Discord to come up for Friendly Friday. If it's possible to knock out that goal, look, I understand finances are tight for everybody, and I understand people wanting to hold on to what they've got because it's uncertain times. But if you are able to help us with that gift goal, that'd be greatly appreciated. I think it's 120 we have left to knock out before the end. Let me get going. Here's Troy Nels. Now, Troy Nels is a fucking dirtbag. Troy Nels is a former cop, a corrupt cop, a shady cop. I don't know what's going on with his hands. He has both his hands bandaged. And after cutting taxes for billionaires and kicking 13 million Americans off Medicaid, he went outside on the steps of Congress and decided to smoke a cigar and not have an answer for anything.
Can I ask you, though, about the CBO score and the idea that 11 million, 12 million Americans may lose
I don't have
health
any
insurance?
faith and confidence in the CBO. They're scoring. They're wrong half the damn time. I don't give any. No,
So you're
I'm not worried
at
about
all
the CBO.
that- You're not worried at all that Americans may lose their health care?
Oh, well, just some Americans that aren't Americans, and that is the illegals. Why should illegals be on Medicare? Shouldn't have it. We did it.
This is what it drives me nuts. This is why I'm concerned, is because he knows, or he doesn't. He's either lying or he's dumb. His leadership, everything he has seen, every document that he has looked at says 3% of the $800 billion cuts, 3% of that is going towards people who should not be on the rolls. And he is a person who has decided that with no data, but with just vibes, he's going to cut $800 billion. This is my problem with Republicans. They saw the information. They know they can't back any of this up. And so they just say, nah, I choose not to believe it.
Why should illegals be on Medicare? Shouldn't have it. We did a great job with it all. We did a great job. I appreciate it. The American people spoke. The American people spoke, and the elected representatives spoke today. And what did we do? We supported and passed this one big, beautiful bill. So now you got to accept it and absorb it because it's the right thing to do for the American people.
I agree. That is the problem. The problem is that taxpayers should not pay for people that aren't paying taxes. People like Elon Musk. People that pay 3% effective rate. I agree. I don't think we should subsidize billionaires who aren't paying their fair share. I agree with that. This, by the way, it's the dumbest fucking argument. It's like saying when people go, billionaires, the 1% pays most of the taxes. Yeah, because they have most of the money. It's how this shit works. You pay, taxes are a percentage. So you pay the percentage of how much money you make. When you make more money, you pay more in taxes. And I've told this story before, but there was one year, the first time I ever did like really well in business, I didn't have my my business structure set up. I went and I got I don't think I had no, I didn't even have a tax ID number. I was an independent contractor and I was bringing in all this money and I didn't know shit about taxes. So I just brought in all this money as an independent contractor. And at the end of the year, I wrote a check, a multiple six-figure check. I think it was somewhere around like $400,000. I had to write a check to the federal government it was like $400 and something thousand. It was roughly 50% of my income of that year because I didn't have any structure set up. The next year, I made a little bit more money, but I went and I got a tax attorney to do my taxes. Legitimate, all legitimate according to our laws. And the next year, I think I paid like $13,000 in taxes. That's a fucked up system. That is an incredibly fucked up system. That I was able to pay like an effective rate of around 12 to 13% when my rate should have been 37% plus Arizona. I think our top tax rate at the time was like 8%. My rate should have been 45%, about what I paid the year before. But I didn't do anything different. In fact, one of the things I did is when I went and bought a new car. I got a new car because they're like, you can either buy a new car or you can pay that money to the government. I'm like, fuck, I guess I'll buy a new car. It's a bad, that shows how rigged the system is for people who make a lot of money. Again, I didn't have employees. I wasn't reinvesting that money in a way that would like bring more jobs. I worked for myself. I had 0 employees. But then I was able to make myself an employee and make my spouse an employee. And then all of a sudden, everything I did, I could just write off. There were all these tax deductions that I could take advantage of. And everyday people, you guys, you're paying 20, 30%. Regular middle class people that were probably also, I wasn't working that hard either. Because once you get in a position where you're making a lot of money, generally you're making money off of other people's labor and it gets a lot easier. So you don't even really have to work that hard. And I'm paying this tiny effective tax rate pretending I'm a business owner. Well, I'm a business owner. I'm a job creator, so I should have to pay less in taxes. It's just a myth, dude. It's just it's a complete rigged game. Rich people don't pay their fair share. I should have paid my fair share that year. We all should have, and then we could have had better things for people. And it's not out of principle. Like sometimes people say stuff like, "Well, what's stopping you from writing a check to the IRS?" I didn't want to. I'm selfish, just like all of us are selfish. That's why we need the government to force people to pay taxes, because people won't do the right thing. We already know people won't do the right thing. We're $37 trillion in debt. Americans aren't going to do the right thing. We never will. None of us will. We will always choose ourselves. That's why the government has to force it. That's why the system has to work. The system has to make sense, because nobody voluntarily is going to give up more money. We're all selfish. And that's just reality. I'm not judging. I'm selfish. You're selfish. We're all selfish. That's how we are. We all think about ourselves first. I think patriotism is a myth. I think very rarely do people do things for the country. Even those that like say that they fight for this country, I don't really believe that. I don't really believe. I think maybe they fight maybe for their family. But most people join the military. Some people think it's cool. Most people join the military because it's a good opportunity. I know very few people that said like, "Oh, I just want to fight." There's like Pat Tillman. There's a good example of somebody who chose like his country over his wealth. There are examples that you can give of people who choose to sacrifice something great to go serve in the military because but ask Pat Tillman's family about that. Ask them about his sacrifice. They all fucking hate our government. Every one of them hates our government. They're like, what did he sacrifice for? He thought he was going there to protect Americans. Turns out he wasn't. Turns out he just went there to fight for oil. To fight for the military-industrial complex. Go ask his family how they feel about Pat Tillman being killed by our own people, by the way, by friendly fire. One of the heroes. I used to go to every ASU football game. There's a statue of Pat Tillman. We have this big event, the Tillman Run, every year. It's a 5K that generates a lot of money for charity. That guy was killed by the United States. That was a United States soldier killed by the United States, and they lied to his family about it for years. They lied about how he died for years so that they could use Pat Tillman as a way to recruit other people to join the military. If you have served this country since I've been alive, I'm 39 years old. If you have served in the military for this country, I think that maybe some of you, maybe a lot of you, I don't know, maybe some of you did it because you felt like you were serving our country. But the reality is every one of you was used. They didn't give a fuck about you. They risked your life to fight wars that are about money. That's how fucking sick this is. And then we're like, oh, we gotta fund the military to make sure that we're protected. No, we don't. No, that's just another lie. We gotta tax billionaires or we won't have jobs. Well, we had better jobs before we had wealth inequality. Wealth inequality has made everybody's jobs worse. People can afford less. The American dream has never been less attainable in my life than it is right now. When you tax rich people at a higher rate, it collectively lifts everybody. And guess what? The rich people are still rich. They're just not like build a rocket and fly to the moon rich. They're not like rent out a city in France on your $100 million yacht rich. They're still very rich. There's rich people in every country that has universal health care. There's rich people in other countries that are run closer to a balanced budget who don't have massive militaries. There are rich people there. And you know what's crazy? It seems like all the countries with the biggest militaries, they all are the ones that are having all the problems. They're the most divided too. People say like, why don't you leave the country? The brutal fucking answer of why I don't leave this country is I have a daughter, and my daughter has a mother, and that's it. Otherwise, I'd be gone. This is not a well-run country. So what are my options? My options are just to fight like hell and do this. For whatever you got, for whatever criticisms I get, I do have to tell you, like, I care. And there are some days that I enjoy this job. And every day I enjoy the people that I work with. But this is not fun. It is not fun to cover this country. It is not fun to cover our government. It is not fun to see the same people step in a room every day and just like advocate for the worst fucking policies that don't benefit them. It's fucking exhausting. And the brutal reality is America is stupid. Incredibly stupid. We have a lot of people. Maybe stupid's the wrong word. Let me change that. America's fucking lazy. Especially intellectually. We are so incurious. We're so busy waving our dick around talking about how America's so great. We're so cool. Talking about cryptocurrency and stocks. This is gambling. Like our country is literally like the economics of our country are just gambling. Taking risks. It takes balls to take a risk. No, it takes laziness to take a risk. You know what's hard to do? You know what's really hard to do? Build a company in this country where you pay your workers a living wage. And it's not celebrated. Nobody celebrates the person. In fact, there's that guy, I forget his name. He's some Silicon Valley company. He got famous. He was a CEO who made everybody's salary the same in the whole company, including his own. And then he spread out like they basically did socialism. And then like everybody has stock benefits too. And everybody said like, "Oh, this guy's an idiot. His company's going to fold. This doesn't work." And they're still around. And the people are still working. I have a friend of mine who in a very conservative area works for a construction adjacent company, construction company. And their construction company is a co-op, meaning that they all have shares. And they voted to make it a co-op. So they all share in the profits of that company. And guess what? Nobody ever quits. That's fucking hard. It is really fucking hard to do that. You know what you can't find me very often? Go online and find me a story of a co-op, a community-owned business, an employee-owned business who was scamming, who was stealing. You almost never find that. But every day there's a story. Every fucking day there's a story of somebody who built a totally fraudulent company and bilked people out of billions of dollars. Sam Bankman-Fried, the Theranos lady. Every crypto Ponzi scheme ever. Every company Donald Trump destroyed. It's really fucking hard in this country to build a company that pays people a living wage and that pays people with good benefits and that gives people an early retirement and gives people vacation pay and sick pay and maternity leave and paternity leave. That's fucking hard, and that should be celebrated. But you know what we don't do? We don't celebrate that. We celebrate Jeff goddamn Bezos. This guy started a company out of his garage and lived off of his parents' money and lived off investors' money for 20 years. And when they finally turned a profit, he said, "Get fucked, everybody. I'm keeping all the money." And they kept so much of the money that at one point, the second richest person in the world was his wife because she divorced him. And how are the people at Amazon doing? Not that great. Warehouse down the street here. Multiple people have died at the Amazon warehouse in my community because of the conditions that they work in. And what do? We jack off Jeff Bezos. Oh, he's so cool. What do we never do? We never talk about the person who lives a good life, makes a couple $100,000 a year, puts away money, is able to take care of his family, is able to have vacations, is able to live in a moderate house. And guess what? So do all of his employees can do that too. And we never celebrate that because we're so busy jerking off to money. And ironically, it's the fucking Christians with your mega churches. Ironically, it's you guys. It's the ones with the blinged out crosses around your neck. You guys are the ones that are like, "Oh, dude, we cannot take money from these billionaire scam artists." Donald Trump's the fucking president, and you guys talk about him like he's a business success. He's a scam artist who used his daddy's money and leverage and access to power to run over everybody who got in his way. And who benefited? Show me who are the people in his wake? Who are the people that got rich for working for Donald Trump? His kids? How's his longtime CFO? What's he up to? Oh, he's in prison? How about his long-term attorney? Prison? With no money? Oh, okay. He's not a success. He didn't lift anybody but himself up. Every other country gets this. And the ones that don't get it, the ones that don't do it this way, you guys all hate. Or you used to. You used to hate Russia. You used to hate North Korea. You used to hate the Saudis. Why? Because they were oligarchies. All the money stayed in one place. But in America, you're celebrating it now. You're celebrating all the money being accumulated in a tiny amount of people because you think it could be you someday. There is no incentive in this bill to build a good company that pays people a living wage. No incentive. There's no incentive to provide better health care for your employees. There's no incentive to give people paid leave. There's no incentive for maternity leave. There's no incentive for education. There's no incentive that makes the American lives better in this bill. It is simply about dollars and cents. And you guys are in, and it's, they get all the money and you don't get shit. And if you say anything about it, you're just a complainer with Trump derangement syndrome. What happened to Americans collectively doing something great? We're a republic. That's the whole point of this shit. It's the 4th of fucking July. That's why we're here. We're here because we wanted, as a collective, to give an opportunity to more people. And today, Donald Trump and the Republicans are celebrating ripping that opportunity out of the mouths of the poor and giving that opportunity instead to the rich. I can't think of anything more anti-American than passing that bill on the eve of the 4th of July. And just a giant fuck you to everybody but the billionaire class. And you guys are celebrating it. All right. It's time for Friendly Friday. I'm guessing that's why Jen's here. Is that right, Jen?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Let me check comments, see if I missed any. You want to do your thing, Jen?
I mean, so I think from my numbers, it looks like we're a little short. So if you guys want to help us out while we're doing the Friendly Friday, that would be awesome.
Denise said, thanks, guys, and happy Friday. I think that was the only one I missed.
There was a couple. Did you get
Job? I don't know if that's Job or Gob or respect you speaking out on uncomfortable realities. Thank you. Amy Lynn said, can you please show Trump motorboating and kissing the Dragon Queen? Is that, wait, what? Motorboating and kissing the Dragon Queen? I think I saw this video and I thought it was fake. I thought it was AI.
I don't know if I want to see Trump motorboat anything that sounds not fun.
Oh, drag queen. Oh. I think you're talking about Rudy Giuliani. There was a video I saw this morning of like Trump signing someone's chest. I thought that's what they were talking about. And I didn't think it was real. Yeah, we can show that. That'll make everybody feel better today.
Well, except for me. I'll probably nauseous, but
here it is.
Giuliani showing
It's
his
playing. You can't
softer
hear it,
side
Jen.
Dressed in drag in a comedy skit with Donald Trump.
You know, you're really beautiful.
The spoof was filmed 16 years ago when Giuliani was mayor of New York for a charity dinner, so it was all in good fun.
Oh, you dirty boy, you! Oh.
Look what we've uncovered. It's Giuliani showing his softer side dressed in drag in a comedy skit with Donald Trump.
You know, you're really beautiful.
There we go. All right. We're no longer collective. You're on one side or the other. When the left and people like you stop trying to kill all the other side of the aisle just because you're shut the fuck up. Who are we trying to kill, you dumb bitch? Oh, that Jesus. That's so fucking. Oh, that's Berserker. Oh, that makes sense. Never mind. Sorry, I forgot that you're a fucking idiot. Never mind. Because two Republicans tried to kill Donald Trump, and they're like, the left is trying to kill everybody. Bitch, there's been like 13 people that are dead already from these immigration raids. Shut the fuck up, Berserker. God damn.
All right. Well, if you want to join Friendly Friday, you can hop into the general VC in the Discord. I know it's forced, so some people. I think. Do you have anything planned for
the weekend?
Are you gonna blow anything up?
No, I've never been a fan of like fireworks. I don't like them. It's just crowds, and I can see there's so many fireworks where I live in like the East Valley of Phoenix, so it's like like it's all downhill to Phoenix, so I can just see everything from my house. So my daughter's with her mom. They're going to do fireworks with her friends from school. So I'll probably just be high and sit outside and watch fireworks.
You want to hear something funny that brought me some joy one year for 4th of July? I had a guy I dated that we broke up or whatever. I heard that and he's kind of a pyro for the 4th of July. And he shot some fireworks into a field and caught him on fire. And then when he was trying to put it out, he got like very several degree burns. And that made me happy. It made me happy. So.
I used to go to this place. It's in like southeastern Utah. It's called Blanding, and they do a pretty cool fireworks show. But it catches like the whole community on fire after. So you'll see like they're just ready for it. So they just have fire trucks around all these fields. It's like, and then as soon as the fireworks go off, and about halfway through the show, you'll just start seeing flames from the fields. They're just ready for it every year. That part was almost better than the fireworks.
Yeah, we get lots of fires. I mean, California doesn't have summer. We have fire season.
Well, you gotta scrape the floors or whatever that is. You gotta rake the floors. Nobody ever told you that.
Oh, we had to rake the forests. We have to rake the forests. So if you guys want to join Family Friday, we've got a couple people in here already. And it looks like I sent you the numbers I have. So if we could knock out the rest of that gift goal balance, that would be cool. And if you guys haven't already subscribed, please do that. Oh, I also wanted to mention too, I'm still going to put the instructions out. There's a bunch. It looks like we've got on Twitch. We have, how many people do I show on this list? I show that we've got on Twitch. We have 158 subscribers, and only 30 have their Discord matched paired with their Twitch. So I'm gonna put out the instructions for that. You're gonna need, if you want to watch the event tomorrow, you're gonna have to connect the two. I'll put the instructions on how to do that. I'm not going to be manually adding people to that like I did last time. So I'll put those instructions out, and there might not be a lot of people listening, but that's what we'll need to do before tomorrow. So
okay. All right. Well, for all the Republicans here, you're about to hate what's going on because there's going to be people up here that are nice to me. So you may want to bounce. But who's first? And I got to echo. Somebody's echoing.
FOD.
Awesome. Susan said happy 4th. Thank you, Susan. And this one here. Not letting me. PayPal's being weird. It won't let me read the comment or even show me who it. There we go. Austin said, for Dontrell's live, in light of the BBB's passing, it's imperative to acknowledge the decision is final within our free and democratic system. Your vote has been registered, and player 222 must be eliminated. I do not understand that at all. So somebody probably understands that better than me. All right, who's up?
Delusion.
It's me, bro.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, yeah, I'm gonna be super nice to you.
No.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you said the Republic. Yeah, I'm gonna thank you for telling me that as a vet I was used up, right? And that thank you for clarifying that I'm getting double ass fucked. You know, that's always nice. And that I wave my wiener lazily along as I live here in the United States. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You know, after all of those things, I feel like starting an OnlyFans page or some shit, setting up an hourly pay structure, and just fucking bending over.
Yeah, might as well get paid for it.
No, I thought you'd appreciate that though. Anyway, this is, you know, pretty much fuck the new America, bro.
So bad.
I don't know. I'm gonna go pretend that we're not celebrating today and like play video games with my kids or some shit.
Hell yeah.
That's it.
Hell yeah. I love that.
All right.
All right, brother. Be well.
Love you guys. Later, Jen.
See ya.
Later.
All right. Who's next?
Positive impact. I mean, positive.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy 4th.
Yeah. Happy. I used to love celebrating the 4th of July, and I have like no spirit in me this year.
It is bad timing. I feel like if it was a week later, some people could, because we are resilient. People are resilient. We could maybe like a week from now, but to have it be the day after is kind of tough. That's a rough one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I used to put the flag out and be all, patriotic, but man, it's hard to be proud of America. Not, I mean, just with this bill, but just in general recently, it's been pretty hard.
Yeah.
Um, the thing I'm like, I keep, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but conspiracy theory. That's a hard
Theorist.
one for me
It's
to say today.
yeah.
Theorist. It's tongue tire.
Real question
But
is, can you say Tesla?
Tesla.
yeah, Kessler. The I just worry about the midterms, and I just wonder if, like, when he pulls them into these secret meetings, he's like, "No, we got this rigged. You don't have to worry about losing the election, and we got this taken care of, and you can vote with us, and you're protected." Or I don't know. It just seems like brazen.
Yeah, it's hard. Like it's hard to know. The thing that Trump would need in order to like rig the midterms is he's going to need loyalists in a lot of places. Like the cool thing about elections is that they're mostly run on a local level. So if you're going to create some sort of election fraud, you need a lot of people to go along with it. Unfortunately, I know for sure that I live in Maricopa County, which is the biggest county I think by population in the country, and or maybe it's size. I can't remember. It's one of those two. And the people that have been running for the elections board and what's the other position that you're supposed to be? I can't remember. They're all deathly loyal Trumpists, and they've done that. They've been doing this for a while. Like the Republicans have been putting in loyalists who believe that the election was stolen, and so I just don't know how prevalent that is across the country. But it does make me nervous here in Maricopa County. It makes me very nervous.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I mean, I live in a blue state, but
I mean, we already know that they'll lie. We already know. I already know that these people will lie about the election. They did it before, and even when the audits come out, they just say, "I don't believe that." And that's, I think, the scary part is just if we just roll through this, like if there's enough places where they're able to get people to just not certify the results, and even though there's no evidence that the election was stolen, what are we going to do about it? If they just say no, what do we do? The FBI is not going to back us up. The Attorney General is not going to back us up. The military is not going to back us up. The executive branch isn't going to back us up because we already know everybody that's in office with Donald Trump is already lied about elections being stolen. So
yeah, and maybe that's the plan. Maybe it's just they just say no, and they just say no, you won, and there's like nothing I don't know.
Yeah,
when we lose to courts, I don't know.
Even if we have the votes, like even if the votes, I don't think that there's at least people like Carrie Lake in Arizona, where if she was in charge of certifying the election, even if the election came back and said, like let's say Andy Biggs, he's running for governor here, even if it says he lost, she would have just said like, oh no, these are wrong, so I'm going to certify him as the winner. And as long as there's enough people to go along with it, that's the thing we don't, I think, sometimes realize about our Constitution is that if they just say no, and we saw it with Abrego Garcia, we're seeing it all the time. This administration is happy to say no. What are you going to do about it? And that's the scary part, because there is nothing we can do about it unless people want to revolt and go to the streets and have an actual war. And then you got to decide, like, who's the military going to side with here? What's Pete Hegseth going to do? Is Pete Hegseth going to stand up and tell Donald Trump he's wrong? Hell no, he's not going to do that. There's nobody around Trump that will tell him no. Yeah.
Yeah. So, on that happy note.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Scares me.
Me too.
And, I've got, you have really, much younger kids than I do, but mine are 18 and 22. And yeah, I'm just super concerned about their future in the world that they're stepping into. And, yeah. And like you, I mean, yeah, I could move to another country. People make it sound like that's so easy. It's not that easy to take up residence in another country and get meaningful work and all that. So
And what countries are going to want Americans right now? Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be a little concerned about which Americans are coming your way. They're like, wait, you guys just stood by while this happened? We don't want you. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
well,
keep
enjoy
going.
your weekend,
Thank
and
you.
yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
See ya. All right. Who's next?
Kirsten?
Hey, Kirsten.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, okay. I have a couple points. Okay, my first point is I've been full-fledged American this whole time, which means I've been spending my money on Dairy Queen, Pizza Hut, and McDonald's because it's been havoc the last 72 hours. Because not only do I have 3 mental illnesses that are debilitating and I need Medicaid to keep me functional, but I have 2 siblings that are just fully non-functional even with medication because they have debilitating mental illness too. And my heart just went to the floor when I heard it pass because I'm contacting my mom and my sister and making sure that my brothers are contacting, like, we're trying to contact my brother's social workers to make sure they make sure their Medicaid and food stamps are still up to date because we just need to fight for them at least to make sure they're still stayed on. And my last point is about like the fascism thing. I know I only have a couple more seconds, but I know I studied Holocaust and fascism since I was 14, and I know they're going after the Hispanics, but they will go after people that are mentally ill and mixed race people like me and people that are non-white, which that scares the living daylights out of me too. So it's just been fear these past couple of days, but I've been going to Dairy Queen a lot, so that's the silver lining.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part is that it does sound fear mongering, and I think what you're talking about is worst case scenario. But the scary part is that I know that they're like I don't think Trump has said that he's going to do those things. I don't think Trump has said that he's going to go after people of mixed race or people with disabilities. But Stephen Miller did, and Stephen Miller's right next to him, and Charlie Kirk is talking about ethno states. And there's all these people around Trump with a lot of influence who are saying that. So, like, it is a conspiracy theory. Like, is he going to do that? It is fear-mongering to say he might do that. But there's also some justification because there's a lot of things that he's done that he said he wasn't going to do. And the people around him that have his ear, this is what they want. And I think sometimes we forget Donald Trump's a fucking idiot, and you can trick him by just complimenting him. If you just tell him nice things about him, or if you tell him that the people that he hates doesn't want him to do this, then sometimes he just does dumb things because he's a dumb guy. And I think that's where most of us it's almost like if they told us what they were doing, you could cope with it more. But it's the constant anxiety of what's next. And will he listen to Stephen Miller this time, or is Scott Bessent going to catch his ear? Like, who's he actually going to listen to? And that's where it's scary.
Right. And for me, it's the evidence ever since 2016 when he was quoting Mussolini. And then as time moved on, it was going more and more towards fascism. And then you had all the people get put in place. And that, for me, is just the scary part. And I know my sister and I are joking around about this. If it ever gets to that point, I keep on telling her that, Heather, just make sure I can hide in your bunker. That's all. That's all.
Well, I'm sorry you're going through hard times, but I do think like I'm a grasshopper guy, so a grasshopper blizzard that might fix it.
Oh, are you talking about alcohol?
No, grasshopper. It's a mint Oreo.
Yeah, it's mint blizzard.
Mint Oreo blizzard. It's called grasshopper.
I'm from Pennsylvania. We're so bland with our names. We don't have anything creative in Pennsylvania. We're just called Mint Oreo Blizzard. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not fun.
Well, maybe you can start a trend. You can tell everybody it was your idea.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, I am going to Dairy Queen, by the way, since it's 4th of July. So there's that.
I might do that too.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for letting me vent. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day and rest of your weekend.
You too. We'll see you.
Yep. Bye.
Oh, good. Special guest. We got older millennials parole officer here. I do it.
Can you hear me this time?
I can hear you, yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
God, finally. Um, you were talking earlier. I just wanted to elaborate on something. I know. I don't know if you dug into what LA is doing for the Olympic. Have
No,
you
is
looked
that
into
you that
that?
said in the? It was that you said earlier that they're doing something different. I'm not sure what they're doing. No.
Yeah, it's something I encourage you to check it out. It's actually kind of cool. So you know how they're always like, there's always a new building, right? That stays there, like the Nest in Beijing and all that. That just ends up being an empty building for that was built for the Olympics and did nothing with afterwards.
Yeah.
So they're actually using the best stadium in the world, SoFi Stadium, for the open and closing ceremonies.
Yeah.
So they're using an existing stadium, and then rather than having to build an entire Olympic Village, they're just using the UCLA dorm rooms because it's
Oh, cool.
summertime.
Oh, nice.
So they're doing that. There's a big old project with LAX going right now that they're adding like a whole monorail system and all that. Like they're really revamping LAX to where it's not going to be the way LAX always was, hopefully. Yeah. But, so they're basically the only like things that are really being built are all infrastructure stuff, which is stuff that already helps us anyways. It's just more of an excuse to build, stuff that we already needed. So they're doing that, and then so I was watching some people that are covering like the finances and going over what everything they're doing with it, and it's looking like they could have actually turned a profit.
That'd be crazy. That'd be, I think, the first that I can in modern history that would turn a profit.
Oh yeah, I think like the 76 Montreal Olympics. I think they just now finally paid off their last payment within the last few
No
years.
shit. Wow.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, so there's like a whole bunch of stuff, and then they're also bringing in like for transportation, a bunch of different like transit companies or transit agencies throughout Southern California are all like they're coordinating with a bunch of them to bring buses in to help out. So there's going to be like existing infrastructure used, just trying to figure out how to do that efficiently.
It'll be interesting to see how many people come to the Olympics. If I was in another country right now watching this from the outside, I probably wouldn't come. So it'll be interesting to see what type of visitors we have. Yeah. Especially the world, actually, especially the World Cup too. Like the World Cup, that's a bigger deal, and a lot of the countries who are the most excited about the World Cup look a lot like the people that we're trying to deport right now. So that'd be terrifying. Yeah.
Anyways, I'll let you go. Fuck the Niners. Bye.
Fuck you. See ya. Dirty Dude said they'll overplay their hand, and that's when ooh. I don't know what ooh means. Stephanie said, as a U.S. Canada citizen now living in Canada full time, I'm so sorry to see this happening. Thanks for being here with us, Jay, Jen, and team. Yeah, we don't have a choice. We're just gonna be here. Is that everybody, Jen?
No, we got Mama.
Oh, hey, Mama.
Mama and then
Wow. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful. Could not be better. Thank you for asking.
living the dream.
Yeah. I just wanted to like add on to the parole officer or whatever his name is this time. So I honestly think that it might actually be a good thing if we get all of our international, World Cup and this, that, and the other, the Olympics taken away from us to like, teach us a fucking lesson that it's not cool to, try and kill everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think.
Like that. Yeah. I mean, like we need to learn and actually not be so cavalier about the fact that like all our country ever does is kill people. Like I come from a military family. My husband's military family, but neither one of us actually served. It was just like other family members, and like every single person has just ended up so fucked up, and it's so frustrating to see what we do to people in the military, and then we just don't take care of them. And it just, I don't know. It's been kind of weighing on me with it being the 4th. So
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I saw some polling. It was something like less than 30% of Democrats now identify as being like proud of their country, where I think in 2015 that number was somewhere around like 75%. And
I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know what people are proud of. I don't know what Republicans are proud of, honestly, other than the fact that they're in power. That seems to be the thing that they're the most proud of, is that they're like
And it's
they're in power.
disgusting.
And
Yeah.
that number has been trending down since 2015. Like even when Biden was president, I mean, we know we had a protest vote for how we were treating Israel. It's just that in the history of my life, I've never seen the United States consistently take the wrong position on everything so often. And the people that say I voted for this, none of them did. None of this stuff.
Yeah.
None of this stuff. Like most of this stuff in the bill was not on the campaign trail. They're just all. It is. It really just feels exactly like the cult I was in. And I remember feeling.
Yep.
When I first left, like the first time I realized that I didn't believe in it, and I would like listen to this podcast called Mormon Stories. Shout out to a guy named John DeLynn, who I would sit outside, and I remember just like thinking, it's a very similar feeling, and you feel like the world is ending, and what you realize is it's like your world is ending, right? Like
Yeah.
the stuff,
And everything else continues to go on.
yeah, the stuff that you value is over with. And I think that that's what a lot of
Mhm.
Democrats are coming to grips with right now, is like this value on helping each other and building like an equitable future, and making sure to take care of the poor and the needy. Like that feels so suspended right now, and people feel so
Mhm.
helpless. And so you kind of just have to sit and watch as this new direction of worshiping billionaires takes hold, and you're helpless. There's nothing you can
Yeah.
do. And it feels so similar to me that like on one hand it's gutting. On the other hand, like it could be worse. We could be Palestinians. You know, there's other places
Yeah.
in this world that have life so much worse than us. And but people feel helpless, and it's so much worse to feel helpless when the other side is just consistently choosing fascism and cruelty and then celebrating it. It's so fucking bizarre.
Yep. This is, I will say, so the 4th of July has always been my favorite holiday, simply because usually they end up doing fireworks and stuff on my
I
birthday.
just want to call out the time.
Don't
when we
worry.
were-
Okay.
we were-
Okay. So last thing, this is actually the first time in my life that I won't be watching fireworks.
Yeah, I get it.
That's my protest. So,
I get it.
yep. All right. Have a great weekend, guys.
You too.
Bye,
We'll see
Mom.
it.
All right. Bye.
So my spawn is with her grandparents. She's been there for a bit, and I just got a text from her, and she does, and it's actually pretty good. She does the Jennifer Coolidge like voice impersonation.
Is
And
that
I just got a
is
text.
that Stifler's mom? Is that who Jennifer Coolidge
Yeah.
is? Okay.
Yeah. And she can actually do this pretty well. So I just got a text from her that says, "Oh my God, you look like the 4th of July. That makes me want a hot dog real bad." I just got that text from her.
Tell
So,
Spawn I said hi.
all right, Courtney.
Hey,
Hi, friends.
what's up, Courtney?
Hey.
I miss you guys. I've
Where
been
have you
like taking a
been?
hiatus. I just like the anxiety with the Iran stuff and my husband in the military. I just took a break from politics, but I miss you guys so much.
Well, thanks for coming
Yeah,
on Friendly
it's been
Friday.
draining for politics lately. So
Yeah. So thank you for the work that you guys do. Like forever grateful for sure. But I did want to piggyback off of some of that military talk. Earlier, you were saying that some people join the military for ulterior motives, right? Like
Mhm.
for their family or for whatever. My husband, not to dox anybody, but he was told by a recruiter that him joining the military would grant some people some citizenship in this country, and that hasn't happened. That's why he joined, and now we're facing this situation, which is just the most horrible experience. These like last 2 years of him just being in the military have been horrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Anyways,
that's the
that's it.
it's so devastating when we see those stories of people who served in the military that are being deported now, and now they have
Mhm.
like, you know, that new thing they're pursuing where if you're a naturalized citizen, then you can be deported as well. It's just,
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm sorry you're going through it. How's your husband dealing with that?
He's not great. but he is putting a face on for the country, for all of
Yeah.
us, you know.
That's
Trump is his
embarrassing.
boss.
That's
It
sick.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, tell your family hi. Specifically, tell your mom I said hi. If is she here today? I don't know if she's here
I
today.
will.
Tell her I said hi.
She's probably working, but I will let her know.
All right. Thanks, Court.
Love you guys.
Love you. We'll see you.
Nah. No, it's kind of wild. Like I mean, you notice how oftentimes why the government doesn't want to do free, any kinds of education or stuff like that, because they prey on people who are, from lower socioeconomics, for education or other things like that.
Yeah.
It's very predatory. So
Yeah,
that's
people that don't have like a better option, and especially now, if you're entering the workforce right now, I mean, the options are so limited for a good job. You just better hope things get better. So, anyways, everybody, thank you so much. Jen, did you check your Venmos one last time? Just make sure I don't want to miss anybody. I do this every
I'll
time.
double check. Did you get from Kim? I put it in our chat. Happy 4th to you, Jen, and your family. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
I think make sure did you check our DMs to see if there's any of those?
Nope.
Drew, they'll overplay their hands. Did you read that one? Oh,
yeah. I did
of course,
read that
Chris
one.
shows up. Of course, Chris shows up the last minute.
All right, I'll go on mute.
Shut up. We've been on.
What's up, Chris?
Why you? What's up?
What's up, Beardy?
What's going on?
What do you think?
It's looking lovely.
Thank you. So how's it going?
Fucking hate you.
Any plans for this evening?
Shut up.
No. I just wanted to, I was thinking about something before, and I don't know if you talked about it, but can we reshine this spotlight on the fact that Janae came into your live with Admir the other night and started a whole bunch of shit, and then said that she didn't come there to start a bunch of shit?
That was so
What
weird.
I thought was hilarious about that.
It was fucking
what I thought was
bizarre.
even funnier is someone just lied to her. Like, she wasn't even talked about even a little bit.
Whoever did that I love them. Whoever started that shit, that was so funny. For anybody who doesn't know, we started the live with Admir on Tuesday, and then out of nowhere, if you don't know Janae, if you're not on TikTok, it's just like she's a pretty crazy right winger. She showed up in the live, and nobody had mentioned her name because nobody ever mentions her name because nobody thinks about her ever. She's inconsequential for everybody, and she just showed up and she was like, "I heard you guys were talking shit about me." No, and then she stayed for 10 minutes to tell us how little she cared about the fact that someone was talking shit about her. I loved that.
Did you notice she has a new AI photo on her profile?
I did notice that. It's very it's
Not
very
real.
generous.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but there's one thing I'll never forget. Her and Hogg were getting into it one day, and he said something about her being built like a refrigerator, and that's just
That's messed up.
forever.
It's not nice. It's not.
I've
nice.
never seen her, so I'm not gonna. This isn't my claim. I'm just saying what Hogg said. But that was pretty fucking funny.
I won't.
Yeah.
I've seen her, and I won't make any comments other than if you saw her AI photo and you saw her, you would have no idea that that was a representation of the same person.
That's kind of what I figured. But one thing I just want to this has been like this whole all this shit that's been going on. Why can't MAGA just fucking admit that they're racist? Like, why can't they just start saying it now? Like,
because a lot of them probably don't think they are.
And like this whole Law and Order, I can't. You guys can't fucking say you're about Law and Order and cry about immigrants and stuff like that, because I can't even tell you how many videos I've seen in the last couple of days of people fucking defending the older millennial. Like, this dude literally is accused of stealing millions of fucking dollars, and there's people defending him.
Yeah.
Come on.
I like that they say that. They're like, this guy, everybody's just waiting to pile on. He's going through some shit. It's like, oh yeah? How come every time anybody on the left has ever gone through some shit, this dumb bitch is the first one to make a video about it. He stalks Harry Sisson like he's trying to fuck him. And then they're like, I can't believe people would make videos about the older millennial. I can.
Hey, I've been so drunk I pissed on the floor in my bedroom. I never scammed anybody out of fucking millions of dollars. I don't want to hear about alcohol.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking hear it. Yeah, he has a problem. He needs fucking help. That's not an excuse to scam people. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, you're out
Anyway.
of time. Do you have any last words?
There wasn't even a timer up, bitch.
I know, but you're out of time. Jen's
Because
gonna
we were
yell at me.
ending when you came in at the last minute. So
Whatever.
bye, Chris.
Come on. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
God. Why you stop asking?
Hey,
Face us.
that's right.
100%.
Oh, but we love Jen.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, apparently, since you don't mind hearing it from a kid, his plot was to have me say it, and I almost forgot.
Well, I take it from kids. Adults, not as much. So.
Yep.
So he had a very fun adventure yesterday. They were swimming at the lake because we were doing a pre 4th of July thing. And this little girl comes up and she's like, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" And then she was like, "Who did your parents vote for?" They were like, Harris? She said, "We can't be friends with you because your parents voted for Harris."
That sounds like a win-win.
These are,
Sounds like a win-win to me.
kids. Right?
Congratulations. Yeah.
These are.
It kind of does,
I
but
would
my son, because he is my son, decided to give them a lecture on what a horrible person Trump was.
No. Our poor kids. Why are our kids involved in this? Oh.
So this little 7 or 8-year-old girl comes up and says something mean about his parents. And he was like, yeah, that, he just went on a rant.
That's what sucks. I saw something the other day. I was on TikTok. I was gonna stitch it, but it was just like somebody holding her 1-year-old child, and she was like, "You can say what you want about me, but at least I'm not raising a liberal." And it's like, that's your fucking kid. What are you doing? Why are you using your kid as a prop for your fucking political ideas? Like, maybe I'm different. I'm not gonna talk politics with my kid. She's 5. I'm not gonna say you have to hate this person. I think it's fucking bizarre that people push this on their kids, and then it means so much to them that they want their kids to adopt the cult. The kids don't need to be involved in politics right now. This is the worst time ever to be in politics. It's sad. That makes me just sad that kids are dividing themselves over politics, and that's the parents' fault that told their kids don't be friends with libs or it happens. I'm sure it happens the other way too, but. That just makes.
I'm sure it does, but my kid would have never brought it up. It's not something that is that is a disqualifying factor for friendship with a person that they met at the lake.
And it shouldn't be too. Kids get it. Kids in fact, my daughter the other day said something. I asked her because sometimes she'll swear around me, but she doesn't swear around the other kids. And she told me that one of her friends that's next door, they'll say "Oh my God," but her other friends are Christian, and she's like, "I say that in front of them, but my other friends believe in Jesus, so I don't say that in front of them." We've never talked to her about that, but kids just get that. Kids just want to be friends with each other. They could give a fuck what their other friends believe. It doesn't make them mad when their friends believe something different. And if we could get back to that, we could actually have real debates, and we'd stop being so gridlocked. I wish Donald Trump wasn't an identity. I wish he was just a politician. But unfortunately, now he's an identity. And frankly, sometimes for some people, hating Trump is also an identity. And we're just so fucked for so long. I can't wait for that guy to die just so that people have to figure out what their identity is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
you want to say something?
No, I'm just agreeing. I can't wait for the dog.
Oh shit! I didn't know you're still here. Sorry. Or oh shoot! Sorry for all the cursing. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I've heard cuss words before. You've heard me cuss before. It doesn't matter anymore.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I hope you have a great
I
4th
didn't
of
even
July.
want that.
Happy 4th of July. We love you guys.
Bye.
You suck, but we love you anyway.
See you guys.
Yeah. So we got
Bye.
Purple Kitty said, "Happy FDT Friday. You did great today."
Thank you.
So yeah, no, I laugh because my spawn, she's a good kid. I'm the fact she's from my karma because she's got feelings and shit. So it's
got to be annoying for you.
It's a struggle. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, she should suppress those like her mother and just not let any of them come out publicly. That's what she needs to do.
I mean, she just hasn't experienced the tip of life, just the tip of life like I have. So, but yeah, so she I was, but no, like when people say bad words or whatever, it's like, do you know who her mom is?
Hold on real quick.
She's heard these words.
Hey, Troy Brake, will you message Tim Pool and tell him he can fly me out to his place in West Virginia and I'll come debate him? Just do that. We'll all debate Tim Pool. Tim Pool's an idiot. Sorry.
All right, so we're wrapping up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
So tomorrow is I found the thing. It's 9:15 p.m. Eastern, so 6:15 Pacific. I'm gonna put out the instructions for the Twitch, how they can pair their or match their Discord to their Twitch, and then we'll have members only stream on YouTube. So
yep, we'll see you guys tomorrow night, maybe tonight. We'll see. Casey, that's a good point about your if your parents are detained by ICE, you have opinions even as a child. I agree with that, but I'm still mad at you for the catfish comment earlier, so I'm not going to tell you good job on that comment. But fuck you. All right, any last words, Jen?
Nope, don't set yourself on fire unless you're my ex. So
Jesus Christ. Jamie said, "Happy Friday. Have a safe weekend." Jesus, Jen. Jesus. All right, everybody. We'll see. If we don't see you tomorrow for the debate, we'll see you Monday morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time here on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, sometimes TikTok. I'm going to do my best not to get banned on TikTok this weekend, but no promises. I think my suspension's up in a few hours, so I'll get right back after it. Other than that, guys, take care of yourselves. Enjoy the 4th of July if you can. If not, try and figure out a way to make yourself smile. And remember that there's not a whole lot that you can do about this other than control your attitude. So let's all do our best to figure out how the fuck to make this a better place to live. And until then, I love all of you. Stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.